What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Classic Quest podcast. This is the show where we listen to hip-hop albums such as Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Moral and the Big Steppers, and we go through these albums track by track, albums like Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Moral and the Big Steppers, and we talk about each and every song on the project, letting you know our thoughts and opinions. And as I've said a couple times already, today we will be talking about the brand new 2022 return from the hiatus of feelings of sorts, Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Moral and the Big Steppers album review time. My name's Holden Stephan Roy.
My name is Chris Chrome.
And yeah, today we are going to go through all 18 of this tracks on this double disc bonanza. And fair warning, y'all, we was out at the bar rapping last night in the real life worlds, right? Not on this internet world. And that went so late.
I performed at 1:30 a.m.
Was it 1:30?
1:15 a.m.
I rock, paper, scissored my way. No hyperbole. I played rock, paper, scissors to go a little bit earlier. It was a vibe. But we did it. Got home at 3 a.m, and then I barely slept because my body was like, it's 8. Get up. And I'm like, no, bro, no. And then here we are. So we a little aloof internet. You now know why as we talk about Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Moral and the Big Steppers. That's right, keyword stuffing. Anyhow, Chris, we like to start this off telling the people our familiarity with the artist. But before that, shout out Scribble and Breakfast Cereals. We are doing this live on Twitch, twitch.tv/behindthatsuit, where we play the music. So when you see it cut, you just weren't on Twitch. That's what happened. But we did do it because sometimes people get confused, copyright issues and all. But yeah, Chris, tell the fine folks of the world your familiarity with Kendrick's, your little expectations going into the project, and your little pre-interview business. And what's up, Lindell?
What up, everybody? What up? Kendrick. We reviewed Damn, so I mean, I know who Kendrick is. We did the Black Panther album too. So I like what Kendrick does. I like everything about the movement and just the messaging and his writing and everything. But every time I listen to a Kendrick project, I'm always just like, this shit is next level fucking smart. And I am not smart enough for half of this shit. I'm just gonna be fair with y'all. Just take that with a grain of salt when I'm reviewing this
and
project.
For all of y'all that are Kendrick Lamar super fans coming through, because let's be real, this is gonna be a very long review. And if you clicked on this, you're not a hater of Kendrick Lamar. You love the guy. But basically what I'm saying is Chris reflects a large number of people. You may not believe they exist, but they really, really do exist. And as you can see, Scribble in the comments, I'm not making any of this up. So, yo, Chris, it's fair feelings. I mean, personally, I like Kendrick Lamar's albums. I find them very, cinematic. They're, movies. But, I watch movies, once, maybe twice in my life, and I move on. And that's kind of what I found myself left with. However, there were singles and stuff that I like. There are a bunch of Kendrick Lamar tracks I do like, but I don't know. I just don't find myself as drawn to the full collective body of work over time because it has the same level of focus required as watching a movie to fully appreciate it. It's a high effort thing. So, and I'm not saying this is good or bad or anything. It's just how it feels having reviewed a few of his projects and listened to a lot of his music. And I really appreciate his artistry.
Same.
And I like the sounds. And I do want to put it out there for the people out there. It might just not be for me, I'm in Canada and shit. It just might not be for me. That's okay. We're still here to talk about it. It's Kendrick Lamar, biggest album. The whole world be freaking listening to it.
Just to be fair, not trying to clout or anything, but Kendrick did kind of inspire me with the whole Damn project where you run it backwards. He's very artistic and everything, and
Good Kid, Mad City is one of the most cool albums to me. I barely listen to it because it's I'm never really, I just don't do that a lot. But the album is so well constructed, and I think like To Pimp a Butterfly is pretty magnificent and has a lot of songs. Like there are songs that go back to on all these projects, but like yeah, I get why people love it. And I was really excited to talk about this. Like I felt like this album would be like a good review because you knew Kendrick was gonna just feed us a whole bunch of information to say, and it wouldn't be like one of those ones where by like the end of the review you're like, man, it's been like five of the same songs. So I knew we were gonna get like a story of some kind, and I figured it would be cinematic. And I'm not gonna lie, I really do want to watch the Kendrick Lamar movie albums like a good 1-2 times. I'm really interested in that. Then there's the album of the year side of it where it really depends on like because people already be calling this album of the year, and it's like it really depends on what you think about in an album of the year. If you want the high art concept that gives critics an easy job of dissecting it, then yeah, it's album of the year. Probably not a lot of stuff's going to come out that'll give more people stuff to talk about that'll go as mainstream as this. Simultaneously, if we talk about listenability, as we'll get into throughout the review, that's so up for debate, man. I have no idea what people really think about this project yet. Nobody knows. Everyone just reacted on the first day. So just keep that in mind. This album came out 2 days ago. I've listened to it like 3-4 times before this review, but like, it's not like really like just telling y'all it's not like the experience you have watching this in the future. It's just different. With that, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna quickly say like, for anybody who's like seen any of the older reviews, I had this whole thing where like I would like walk around and try to get like different environmental feels with some of the projects and shit, and like I also tried to do that with this album as well because I do believe that some music you have to kind of like be outside or like be in a certain environment to kind of maybe understand some of it too. So I tried like doing the whole sit down and listen to the project, walk around, get some air, kind of see around my environment while trying to go through some of the messaging and shit. I played it on like a metro and stuff, and just like I tried to do the best I can to really get like,
even because we've already listened to it, y'all. So this would be fire, no lie, in like a literal like auditorium, but like an old timey Rome Coliseum-y one, like one of them like fancy ass like art exhibition experiences where like you really are just there to do some I would do some drugs or like fucking eat some brownies or whatever, fucking vibe out for 2 hours and dedicate. Like I'd have to do that to like really appreciate this project in the way it's meant to be appreciated, I think, which it just doesn't fit into my life. I think that's really what it is. Anyway, that's all tangential. What do you think about the title and cover?
The title itself, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, that just kind of screams Kendrick to me. That's like something that I think he would do, like just as like a name. Like it's not something super, I guess, generic or like Mr. I'm the best or whatever. It's like really taps into what we kind of get from Kendrick on this side. When I first heard it, I was like, are we getting like a Nelly thing where he's dropping like 2 projects? Like, is this, that was my, when I heard the name, because I hear the name
it's a Nelly thing to you?
Well, Nelly dropped fucking the 2 albums at the same time.
I know, but it's just that it's so Nelly's like, your go-to as well.
Well, because like, so here's the thing, right? Like I understand double discs and I understand like that, right? But I thought this was like, you have the project Mr. Morale and then you have the project The Big Steppers, which I figured out is not. It's all intertwined into itself. But like when I first heard the name, because of course all the podcasts I listen to, they talk about it. When the name dropped, that's where I was like, oh shit, this is going to be like some really intricate, creative stuff. Then I was trying to build the thumbnail and finally got to see the cover, and
I like the cover.
The cover's really dope. I mean, there's a lot to it. Like just the apartment looking kind of beat up kind of signifies like where they come from. I don't assume he lives in there anymore. Like I kind of assume he's got like properties and nice places and shit. But like that, like, it kind of signifies where he comes from, his kids, family, protection, doing the right things, growing up, maturing in the world, becoming a father. the whole like Jesus crown thing kind of has, I guess, some sort of symbolism. There is like a lot of
Bro, it's a
religious
crown of
connections.
thorns. It's
Yeah,
like it's.
dude, I'm not that guy. Like I know what it is, but I'm
I
just not
mean,
that
it
guy.
just like it signifies like to me like the weight and the tortured soul of trying to be
Mm,
righteous, like all of that stuff of
mm,
how like heavy is the head that wears the crown is what I see when I see that symbolism.
right. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool. I think it does like if you go back and look at all of the Kendrick projects, they're all significant. They all have meaning to them. They all have some sort of depth, and I think it just kind of is very consistent and solid with what he does.
Facts. Um, when I saw the title, I said, "Oh, Kendrick's talking about life today." It's gonna be, but then it's interesting because now that I heard the project, it's different. So keep in mind, this is my first thoughts, right? It felt like, Twitter. It's about Twitter. It's about social
Mm,
media people, right?
mm,
Because everybody on social
mm.
media is Mr. Moral and the fucking big steppers, right? Who
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
that
yeah,
on
yeah.
social media? Social media is trash lately because everybody's an expert and everybody's opinion matters and everybody thinks what's up. There is an irony to be a guy spitting opinions on a review show, complaining about opinions. It's not lost on me, but it's different kinds of opinions. It's not lost on me though. Um, but like, we're not trying to be Mr. Morals nor Mr. Big Steppers. We just fucking doing our thing. And I do
Right.
think a lot of people out there be trying to be Mr. Moral and Mr. Big Steppers everywhere they go, and you see that shit a lot. Like, especially if you're an independent artist and you just know artists. You just know artists. You see the difference
But it
between social media and real life.
like just tangenting off of that, and I'm gonna bring this back throughout the fucking project, but it kind of also makes me start to think like people want to be Mr. Morale and big steppers because they're trying to find themselves and trying to find a purpose. And social media kind of gives you a false sense of purpose when you can just be opinionated and kind of get your point out there. And you feel like, not to be cliche, but like a justice warrior type shit. Like just to kind of make that joke. It's
Or
like, it gives
you're
you
an
that sense of,
anti-justice warrior.
or that too, yeah, or that too, and it just gives you that sense of like, yo, like I'm fighting for a cause. I'm on the right side of history. I'm on the right side of the fence or whatever the fuck. So
But I also think like when you tie that in, like that title with all of its implications, and you bring it in with that cover where it's like, yeah, but in real life we poor, we in this kind of an environment, and he literally has the crown of thorns, the really nice outfit, and then literally has the gun tucked into the back. At the same time, adding that like extra,
yeah,
like his fucking kids and shit is in the room with the lady there.
yeah,
She looked like she breastfeeding or whatever, and there's a
but it
fucking, and it
also,
just emphasized like, and it's subtle, right? Like you could not notice that gun if you weren't like paying attention to it, and it's just like a little detail, but it's just, I feel like it becomes this crown of thorns in a sense when you have that on his head, this symbolism of him being like this Jesus figure and everything else. And then you think about the title, and it's like, well, in hindsight now it feels like it's really about him and how the world perceives him and how social media versus real life and all that other shit. So I think it's actually really cool, and it just sets everything up for the, as I've been calling it, high art experience that we're gonna go on. um
that's
with
literally everybody's been. So what do you think? I'm like, it's. I don't want to be that guy, but it's just art. Like I
it's like
have
mad
no.
art. It's super
Yeah.
artful. Like when I say art, I mean its goal is to be art and expressive, rather than like that's its goal, as we'll come to see as we're all united in grief. All right, Chris, let's start. How do you feel
Let's
about United
start.
in Grief? The beginning of this album talking about it part.
Um, Yo, that intro. Okay, Sam Do is really impressive, and I'm gonna just repeat that every time he's on a track. I really, really like his. I hope you find some peace of mind in this lifetime. The way he says it, the way it just comes off. I'm like, yo, that is so soothing to the ears, so nice. I really, really enjoy it. Um, I, bro, there's a lot. The way I kind of took this was like a little bit introduced, like, okay, taking you out of your realm, bringing you into Kendrick's world, kind of letting you know what we're gonna be getting and just where we're going. The first verse, I kind of feel is just like setting up. questions of just generic shit like what's a bitch in a mini skirt, a man in his feelings with bitter nerve, what is a woman that really hurt, and you're just kind of getting these things of like what he's been thinking of, thoughts that he's had, places he's been, and just like different things, like just different things that are kind of on his mind. I enjoyed the Claritin bar. I'm starting to feel like there's only one answer to everything. I don't know where it is. Well, popping a bottle of Claritin, is it my head or my arrogance? I like the Claritin bar just because of like, allergies, and you use it to see clearly. And I thought that was kind of clever with trying to find the answer. But like,
Oh, that is clever.
but the other thing is that like, um, I don't think you're supposed to know where the answer to everything is, which is part of like we use substances like Claritin to find clarity within our days and within our shit. But sometimes even finding the clarity may not help the overall situation. Like at the end of the day, you still got allergies, is how I'm kind of taking it. Like I know that sounds a little simple, but it's like you temporarily use, you know, swap Claritin for like weed as like a crutch to get through your tough
Well,
times, to
when you
find
said
answers within
Claritin, I
yourself and
did
shit.
stare at my joint that's burning here for a second.
Fair enough, fair enough. So I thought that that was kind of cool. A lot of this got me kind of going, I'm gonna have to repeat this and repeat this and repeat this. um I like how he goes, the world that I'm in is a cul-de-sac. The world that we in is just menacing. It kind of feels like the world we in is just in a loop, circle, cul-de-sac. You kind of never really know how to get out. It's just all this like negative shit, and we just consistently kind of spiral out of control with that. I like how he kind of goes, I hope the psychologist listens, kind of showing you like, you got to speak to somebody, you got to go to therapy. Right now, like therapy and mental health is like a huge conversation, so he's really playing into that, which I think is really dope. Then we get the chorus, which I thought the chorus was cool, like how it switches up with tempo and the pace, and it's a little bit more faster, and the beat's even a little bit more upbeatier, and it's got like this kind of vibe. The new Mercedes with a black G-Wagon, the where you from is all of the rap, and it's like kind of showing you that he comes from a certain place and now he's here, he's kind of like changing up, things are different. uh, and then I had to I like, at first I was like, I grieve different, and I took that at like a surface level, like everybody grieves different, we all do different things, we all perceive and handle ourselves whatever. But I still am trying to figure out like the deeper part of it, and
Yo,
I don't
bro,
think
it's
I've
cause
gotten there.
like you gotta like okay. I mean, the way I see this track in general,
Hmm.
not to cut you off, but
No,
like
no, go.
like you got this first verse where it kind of just looks like Temptations and trying to figure out how to. It sounds like when you're like kind of young and poor and fantasizing about the better life and just trying to like figure some shit out and you
Mm,
know, but like from a perspective of looking back. And then I think one of the main points of this track is how like when the beat transitions is that mean I'm calling on God for purity. I went and got me a therapist, right? So it feels like these are
mm,
the questions and ideas that are spinning through his mind as he's trying to like make sense of the world that he's in his current position and his like dissatisfaction with life or whatever. And everything is kind of off. And then he's just kind of pouring his heart out as he's trying to indulge in everything, and then you see that like after the set, after like the first verse ends, it moves into this more materialistic point of view. So that chorus is like, now I'm rich, I moved out of the situation, I have all this stuff happening,
mm,
500 in jewelry, chain was magic, never had it in public, late reaction. So there's this like sense of, well, I have all these things, I never really use it, or like infinity
mm.
pools but I never swimmed in it, or things like
Yeah,
that, where it's
there.
like he's trying to get all of these things to escape whatever he's trying to escape from, and it just feels like nothing's ever working, and through all the heartbreaking different problems that happen, and then it seems like throughout the midst of this he's using sex to cope, and that seems to be like the thing that is attracting him more than other stuff. And so when he's like, I grieve different, I think it's like just kind of pointing out that like through his perspective, everyone else seems to be almost satisfied or able to grieve in certain ways, but the way he ends up grieving throughout his life based on his experiences is just different. And it's like
Well,
none
I
of these
think
things satisfy shit, and he's just grieving. And
I think there's I do agree with that. I think there's another aspect which I'm gonna loop it back in the next track as well. But just that line, right? So I bought a Rolex watch, I only wear it once. I bought an infinity pools, I never swimmed in it. I feel like these are things that we're told to buy. Where like we see it in
Mm.
marketing, we see it everywhere, and I think there's an aspect of like when you are grieving whatever it is you're grieving, some people go out and spend on frivolous things, on expensive things to make themselves feel better, materialistic things to make themselves feel better. And I kind of took this line as like, so I was like me as Kendrick, I was grieving, and then I went and bought a Rolex because that's kind of what I felt I was supposed to do because that's what I see other people doing or what they tell me to do or kind of like how my brain
Facts,
works.
because like
And then I only wore it once because I realized once I wore it, I was like, yo, I don't really give a fuck about this. And then the same thing, he kind of like looped into that spiral again with I bought an infinity pool because that's what I'm supposed to do as being like rich, famous, whatever, whatever. But I don't even
well,
swim in
there's
this
even
fucking
like
thing because I
the
don't care.
peer pressure thing. Like Dave got him a Porsche, so I got me a Porsche, and I paid lottery for it. I didn't want it in portions, you know. So because like
Mm.
poverty was the case, and money wiping the tears away. So it's like when you're rich, you grieve different. It's not.
We're not skipping over. We're not skipping over this line. I bought a 223. Nobody peace treat. You won't dupe me. I smell TNT. Doop. That was dope. I'm
I
gonna
mean,
say
it's
it.
cool, but that's the thing. So, like, as far as like the sound of it, right? I mean, you got like what, three distinct separate beats, maybe four, as it swaps
Mm-hmm.
and transitions throughout the track. So it creates this really like cinematic experience as it evolves with the energy and pace and stuff. So it's all slower and calmer in the beginning when it feels like. Also, we didn't even point out like on the intro, it's like his actual partner Whitney Alford, who's there, almost telling them the truth. Like she's encouraging him to actually get help and like put it into the world, so it adds that extra layer when it's like his actual life partner person that is there on the track kind of pushing him. um and then it just feels like this therapy session that he just pours his heart and soul out, and his delivery is dynamic and it evolves over the beat as he does. Everything's just perfectly put. I mean, I don't think we need to say Kendrick Lamar raps real good and does his vocal deliveries real good. The mixing's pristine. You are going to love or hate the beats. That's the facts of the situation. You're either going to like it or not. But what I can say is this track, the whole album really, the more listens you listen to it, because there's so much happening, your brain will compartmentalize the sounds better over time. You'll just be less, I guess, overwhelmed, and you'll really
Mm.
start to appreciate it probably on your fourth or fifth listen. It's up to you to decide if that's something you want to pursue, but it's that kind of
Mm.
album. So the more you put the effort into listening to it, there is a good likelihood that you will like it more. And that's the kind of truth with everything. It's just that you'll probably get mad rewarded in terms of little Easter eggs all over this shit when you go listen to it. Genius is already having a field day with it. I mean, look, this song is so well done. Like, just the way he says I grieve different. Like, it's such a hook in the sense that like it kind of gives you the main thesis of this entire project right there in the intro. Like this song introduces the album so well and puts you into a proper frame of mind for what you're actually going to get on it. And I like it. It's super personal. It's super interesting. I don't know how often I'd listen to it, but it really is an amazing song. I give it like a 4.75 on 5.
I just want to say before I give my grade, right off the bat, I've been going through something in the intro 1,855 days, which is 5 years. And it's those like, I like how he's already acknowledging he's been gone for 5 years in the Kendrick way. Like, he could have just been like, it's been
The
five
exact
years, but
number of days
he,
between the two albums.
yes,
Oh, I forgot about that
yes,
part. That was hot.
yes. Like, that's like right off the bat, you're getting the authentic Kendrick. Like, I'm about to fuck your brain up. And I'm already doing it by stating the obvious if you can do the math. So, um, me, 4.3. Like,
Cool.
I think it's hype. I think it's super dope. I think it's a really good start to what you're going to be getting. I also actually think, though, as like a new listener, if you're stumbling on Kendrick with this project and this is the first song, I do think this is also a good intro track to kind of figuring it out. Like, you don't have to go back to the other projects to be like, oh, now I understand. It's like, nah, you can, you'll know who Kendrick is off of this first track of this project too.
Or at least this version of Kendrick. It's a pretty good
Yeah.
song. Like again, it feels like a high art piece where like other kinds of paintings, I would go look at them once in a while and come and admire it. It's not everyday listening, but it's pretty
Mm.
fucking intense. So let's move on then to N95. All right, Chris, do you also feel that this shit hard?
Yes. Quick little story time because I think it actually kind of speaks on the song. Um, so I lost my debit card on Friday night,
Oh my god.
and Saturday morning I had to go to the bank, right? So I'm here walking to the bank, listening, and this song comes on. And I've got like my whole like clothes style. I look good. I'm essentially like a big stepper, right? But I'm like a big stepper who has to go and figure out his debit card issue. And that made me feel ugly as fuck inside because I didn't have my shit on lockdown. And I thought it was really cool that at the same time that I'm listening to this track and I like looked at myself for a moment with what I had, and then I had to look internally, I was like, dude, this is some weird cosmic shit. And I thought that was like really cool because that's essentially what this song's about, is when you take off all of the fucking materialistic things that, connecting from the last track, you use and buy to grieve or to kind of mask some emotions or kind of present yourself in a certain way. What do you really have? Like, who are you inside? I think it kind of plays that commentary on like people, but also maybe himself looking in the mirror, talking to himself. Like, if you take off all it is, who are you, Kendrick? Who are you really? And that's kind of how I took this track. I thought it was fucking fire. I like the chorus. Bitch, you ugly as fuck, you out of pocket. And it's just the blatant disregard of like, I don't care about the money you have or the shit you have or whatever. I care about the person you are and the person you're trying to be and grow. The lyrics itself, I didn't think there was anything really fucking profound besides just like everything was like pretty straightforward. Um, yeah, dude, that's really what I got. I thought it was cool. I gave this a 4.5 on 5. Like,
So
it normal. It felt really, I didn't have to dive deep. Like, it really just felt explanatory. Like, I understood what he was saying.
that's fair. I feel like this track is definitely one of the standout songs on the album. Like, hands down, one of the best ones. Like, when I heard this one, I'm like, yep, this one's like listenability is super fucking high. It just feels like a bop. You want to like turn up to it. It's got this crazy cool energy. That I just can't even help it. Like, it makes you want to move. The beat's ridiculous. His flow is really fun. But then when you get into what he's saying, it's like he's taking on that grandiose flexing style and then basically satirizing it. So first verse, he's kind of saying what's behind all this shit you put on the internet, your image. Take off the foo-foo, take off the clout chase, take off the Wi-Fi, take off the money phone, the car loan, the flex, and the white lies. So he's like addressing the way that people be renting Airbnbs and cars for videos. And like, yo, at least in my city, I literally know where you can go and get the fucking studio to rent the fancy car. And like, you know, and now I know how it all works really intimately. So you're like, okay. You know, then you take off the idols, take off the runway, I take off to Cairo. And I like how he adds himself into that a bit. But yo, my favorite part of this song though, it's not even the bars, it's the fucking ad-libs. Take that shit off. The way he just fucking responds to it, it's just perfect. Shows a complete mastery of this. This song is a banger. But that first verse is kind of like, look, stop being fake on the internet and beyond what's fake on your internet, what is actually there, what is left. And in a lot of senses, if I'm gonna go story time, I know a lot of people that look real cool on the internet when you be looking at like views and streams and whatever, but when you get to real life and you actually have to go deal with people, like it's like a really not simple thing. So a lot of people can function really well online and present this whole world, but their actual lives is kind of not it. So I don't know. I really like that first verse. And then the chorus, too, it's just like, who the fuck do you think you're talking about? They jack our styles and they got opinions? Get the fuck out of here. That's the energy I took off of that. And I thought it was pretty proper because, yo, for the last several years, a lot of people criticized Kendrick because, like, he did all this moral shit over the 2010s with his music and got basically held up by white people as like a whole way of being. And I really think that that ties into it, is the opinions of the white internet public on Kendrick Lamar is something that is, I think, a low-key theme of this album, and he expands on it way by the end of it and shit. Like when you got that bar where it's like something about black, but I'm more Kodak black or whatever. I can't. It's on another song. But like, so keeping that in mind, right? It's like you see this world's going crazy. Everything's not going good. You know, I really like the "This ain't Monopoly, watching for love. This ain't monogamy, y'all getting fucked" line. That shit was so hard to me, cause like it's not a game. Everyone wants love, but like, yo, it's not this monogamous perfect situation. The entire system is fucking you. I'm not gonna go through every line in it, but it just gives me this sense of, again, there's this chaos. Things aren't right. Things aren't like what it seems online. Then you look into that third verse. Can I vent on my truth? I got nothing to lose. I got problems and pools. I can swim on my faith. And it's like, I think he's kind of now in the point where it's talking about social justice, the state of cancel culture, the way people present things online, who's supposed to do what. So like Kendrick Lamar, you know, like being a rich person and not speaking up over the whole of the COVID and everything that happened. Like I saw a lot of people put in like hit pieces on dude for not stepping up like he's supposed to and shit. So with that in the back of my mind, I'm like, listening to this shit. He's like, murder is stacking, the president acting, the government taxing my funds in the bank, homies attracting the feds when I'm bracket, look at my reaction, my pupils on skates. It feels like there's all this shit happening. Everything's kind of fucked up. He's questioning what people do for aesthetics, what they're gonna do to get credit and move ahead in life. And then my favorite part of this track, he's like, where are the hypocrites at? What community feel they're the only ones relevant? You know, and it's like a really interesting way to criticize pretty much every group fighting to be the group that gets all the attention at once, and all this shit where people it's almost like people care so much what they think, that what other people think, that you're left with this entire fake world that's there. And that's where you get that last part where it's like, the fuck is cancel culture? Say what you want about you. I'm like Oprah, dog. I treat you crackers like I'm Jigga. Watch, I own it all. Oh, you worried about a critic? That ain't protocol. And I think it's like, after talking and commentating a bit on how vapid he sees this online world and how pointless these opinions and fake shit really is, he flips it into, nah, but what you getting from me is I don't give a fuck what you think. I'm finally at that place. And it was like the response to everything that's happened in the last couple of years. It was super lit. The song hit super hard. This one's a real 5-on-5. Like, I really will go back and bump it again type vibe. Anyway, let's move on to Worldwide. Oh, he also brings up the big stepper concept on this track. Like, he brings up the character. Like, he's kind of introducing the big stepper as, like, I feel like one of the fake social media image go-getter type. Anyway, let's move on to Worldwide Steppers. This sounds a vibe. What do you think about it?
I had some trouble understanding a lot of what he's, I guess, referencing. The only thing in the chorus that I understand is, I think this is like a comment on how people are on social media and how we have opinions on everything, but we are still going to like post and use social media. How I think the first verse felt like he was kind of explaining his last like couple of years, what he's been up to, how he's being a father and still dealing with like trauma and like just anxiety and shit. Like playing baby shark with my daughter, watching for sharks outside at the same time. Life as a protective father, I'd kill for her. My son Enoch is the part 2, like the next one up and all that stuff. So I kind of feel like the first verse is really showing you like, this is what I've been doing, and you may not see this, and you guys have your opinions. But then he like completely loses me when he feels bad for fucking a white girl. And then I'm like, bro, I can't relate. Like, I don't feel bad when I fuck a white girl, so I don't really understand. Oh God, like, I don't get it. Like that, yo, sorry, like, fuck.
So this song lost you, buddy. That's what I'm hearing.
The whole song lost me after that. Like in the first verse when he was like the first time I fucked a white bitch, and I was like, what?
Okay.
And then the rest
just didn't make sense. Okay. So, first line, I am not for the faint of heart.
Right.
You're the faint of heart here, Chris. That's what I'm
Clearly.
hearing.
Clearly.
My genetic build could multi-universe is the man of God, right? So I feel like he's trying to transcend or whatever, and he's like gone through some shit and evolved. He's and the whole like baby shark thing, I think it's just almost putting yourself in the perspective of like, this is just some regular parent shit is actually what
Right.
I took from it.
Right.
No, I think the white girl's like actually white girls, Lindell. But like it might be also social commentary, but like I kind of look at it like he's describing like I'm a father and it's really basic fathery shit. You know, I would
Yeah.
protect my children. I'm trying to build like a future that's better than them. And then like playing baby shark with my daughter. Like, come on, that's like the most regular. Like, and I think that's the point, right, of this. Because as we'll get into it, he's trying to contextualize how regular some of this shit can be.
Right.
And then his vices come into play, right? Because as much as he's doing that, simultaneously he's trying to fuck the next chicks as he's pointing out of that. And then he had writer's block, so he's also explaining why maybe it took so long for him to respond, which in the last track, as we because they like flow together, right? Like the first song is like I need therapy, let me start this shit, and the second track's kind of like a commentary on the internet and shit. And now that he's got his feelings of that out the way, it's like he's moving into a little bit where he's at with some of his struggles, right? So he's trying to like find his voice again, and this is kind of what it is. This is where he's coming to. He's going to go through this voice of self-realization with you on this project, and I guess he's just kind of appreciative of it. And then as he's having this awareness, everything's kind of shocked, like the first time he fucked a white bitch, which I guess then sends him down this tangent where it's like, I mean, he smashed this girl and it had an effect on him, right? Because there is probably this racist sentiment built into it, right? It isn't just a simple shit. It is almost like there's this hate fuck side to it all that he's trying to think. Like, because think about it. He's describing he fucked some rich white girl, sheriff's daughter person, and it felt
Right.
like just fucking her was like sticking it to the fucking man. Like, there's a whole
There's also
element to what he's
this-
describing with it, right?
Right. Right. The line "Where did I come from? I don't think like I used to. No, I don't blink like I used to. Awkward stares at everybody. See the flesh of man." I feel like here, just with understanding, whatever. I feel like he's becoming someone else. Like he's acknowledging that he's a different person while he's doing the white girl.
But I also feel like all of the experiences he's had has made him a different person, and he's almost like traumatized in a sense, going through his therapy sessions of dealing with his PTSD, and this is part of it. Part of it is that he had this going on in his life, and that while fucking these white girls on tour and shit, he was feeling these emotions of racism because it felt like, you know, I might be racist. Ancestors watching me fuck like this retaliation. And I'm like, that's a wild line. And it's just a wild thing to like put into the world because there probably is a whole lot of people who feel that way. I mean, you might not relate to it, but this is his struggle that he's putting it up there. And then the chorus kicks back in, I'm a killer, he's a killer, she's a killer, bitch. And then it's like back to whatever I do, everybody's doing some shit. We some killers, walking zombies trying to scratch that itch, and everybody's kind of faking their shit and posing for their pictures and whatnot. Then that last verse fucks me up a lot because it kind of goes into this social commentary on how at the end of the day, pretty much everybody's a killer. And if he kind of exemplifies the point to himself, like using his Christmas drive where he gave out turkeys or whatever, right? So because the high blood pressure flooded the catering, in a sense, because he gave out unhealthy food to his community as a show of charity and etc., he in himself is copping bodies. And he's pointing out that everybody out there that's in the industry, that everyone's trying to make money, everybody that's trying to do their own thing. Like, yo, sometimes if you really think about what companies do for work for the betterment of their people, there's going to be a hurt over there. And if you really think about how your life might be noble and your company that you work for like imagine working for Nestle. Like every part of the people who work for Nestle is contributing to what Nestle does. He's a killer.
Right.
Because Nestle be fucking evil like that. I might consume their products. I'm a killer. I do consume Nestle chocolates and shit. So I'm a fucking killer because I've literally put money into this company that I know fucks up the planet so heavy. And so I think that's like what it's like. The noble person that goes to work and pray like they're supposed to, slaughter people too. Your murder's just a bit slower. And like yo, when we like feed people bad food at birthday parties and literally like just perpetuate all of the bad, destructive plastic consume. You know, like how are we all not killers in a sense? Because yo, when shit hit the fan, it's not gonna be over here that gets hit first. It's gonna be other
Crazy to
places.
think like it's crazy to think like when you talk about Killer and you look at the different levels of it, how like deep it goes, which I think is actually pretty cool the way that Kendrick can do that. Again, this whole thing got lost on me.
I know.
Like I'm not like a lot of there's gonna be a lot of songs here that I'm kind of like what, but I do acknowledge once like broken down and I can kind of like grasp an understanding of it. I can acknowledge how like beautifully written it is and like how
This one's a,
just
and that beat has this anxiety to it, like
yeah
that kind of feel to it, and like the
yeah.
progression of
I
this
like how it
song.
switches for verse three. Like the beat completely changes for verse three when he makes that commentary on like society and shit. I like how he like brings you to a different place because the verse is different. That's also kind of cool too to me.
Nah, the whole song's really well constructed, and I feel like it moves the narrative along, kind of giving you more layers of the complex series of thoughts he's dealing with. Overall, I think it's cool. Like, it's an interesting song. But this is what I mean on that high art shit. Like, I don't know when I want to listen to this, but when I would listen to this, it would be like an interesting fucking experience. Also, the way people made it sound like Baby Shark made an appearance on the album and the media was the corniest shit I ever saw. Corny, clickbait, tabloidy ass fucking Twitter shit. Anyway, let's move on to. Do we
Well,
give
hold on.
grades?
No, my grade is a four. I gave it a
I
four.
would give this a 4.5. I almost forgot about that part. 4.5. It's really well made. Let's move on to Die Hard. All right, Chris, tell them all about your feels and your emotions and everything that poured out of you.
This is such a nice song. I like it. The beat's a little bit smoother. It's poppier. It's got this like little lovey-dovey feel. I really enjoyed it. It was really cool. So we got the intro. Kendrick starts off going, I pop the pain away, I slide the pain away, I pop the pain away, I slide the pain away. Now, I'm thinking when he says I pop the pain away, he's clearly like on medication or something to deal with whatever he's got, anxieties or other issue, blah, 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 blah. But when he said I slide the pain away, I think that's like when you slide on the ops type shit. Like you're out there killing and doing what you got to do because you got pain and hurt people and all this shit. So I feel like he's expressing his traumas and like his demons and what he deals with, but it's also kind of like representing some people who may also go through this as well. And then I picked you up when you fell and cut your knees. I told you not to cry and help and held you close to me, kind of having that like female reinforcement, making you feel like everything's going to be fine. And when things are going bad, she's there to like protect you and stuff and make you feel whole again. And it was really, really sweet. It was really, really nice intro. Blxst, yo, I didn't even know
Yo,
Blxst was a person. And then I was like, yo, Blxst is awesome. And then my roommate's like, you don't know Blxst? I'm like, wait, you know Blxst? And then he pulls out some song from the archive that he knows on some underground shit. And that shit was fire. So Blxst is fire. Like, I heard like a Blxst
established.
song.
It's a
And that's fire.
Chrometopian opinion.
Yeah, approval. Chromotopian stamp of approval. Bro, this is just the best shit ever. I hope it's not too late to set my demon straight. I know I made you wait, but how much can you take? I hope you see the God in me. I hope you can see it. And if it's up, stay down for me. Yeah. And I like how he's like, I'm interpreting it as dude talking to the woman and like apologizing for being the way he was throughout the relationship, throughout the years, and just kind of also dealing with like questioning like are you sure you can still take this? Are you sure you're still able to stay with me? I hope that when I become the God that I'm supposed to be, the almighty person that you are, like you still can see that and you know that I'm trying to have good intentions even though I'm out here, you know, popping the pain away, sliding the pain away, doing things. And just that kind of like vulnerability a little bit was really, really cool. The way he sung that was so nice to me. I was like, yo, this is so fire. Oh my God. Okay. And then Amanda Reifer, yo, like shimmy, shimmy, Cocoa Pop, Serafina, Flamin' Ice. And it's just like she like to me is like that girl who completely understands what's going on, but understands that like I have to I have to be that person who can take you out of your toxicity, out of your chaos, out of all that negativity, and just like shimmy shimmy cocoa pop. It's like that high energy, that high like positivity is like she's making that effort to try to get you into like a positive light to be that person you need. And the way that she's like rest your rings and west bleh, bleh, rest your wings and trust. I feel you deep. I know you feel deep, and just wanting to be connected and feeling just that deep raw love and emotion was super crazy. I really thought that that's what she was like portraying in that, and I thought it was really really cool. Even late throughout the song was dope. Um, and then Kendrick comes in, and like I really like how he's like still dealing with like trust issues, and even after all this time he's still like kind of showing you like I'm fucked up and I've got so much problems that I still have trust issues after you've been down with me forever. Do you love me? Do you trust me? Can I trust you? Don't judge me. I die hard. It gets ugly. Too passionate. It gets ugly. And I relate a lot with like I'm a die hard. It gets ugly. Too passionate. It gets ugly. Because like when you're dealing with like hardcore passionate love and shit, it makes you kind of do things that in your brain is like normal, and like you can like justify it however you see fit to protect the other person, to want to like inspire, grow, and progress and all that fucking positive shit. But like we all like the acknowledgement of being like it can get ugly. Like you know how like sometimes you're trying to show each other's point of views and it kind of gets into like a little bit of debate, and then that turns into like an argument, but realistically you're not really mad at each other, you're just trying to share your different experiences with one another, but y'all just kind of don't really know how to agree on it yet. Like I like how he's self-aware of that, like it can get ugly but please just kind of stay with me. Like I wonder where I lost my way. I know that one moment we were good and then I fucked up. And like dude, this is just so vulnerable, so honest, and I just I love this so much. I love it so much. And it just flows through, and then he just finishes the verse, and then Blxst comes back in, and it's like seamlessly, and it's just it was great. Um yeah, I just think everything. And then even in verse 2, I got some regrets, but my past won't keep me from my best, which he's like, yo, I have to leave the past where it is and I got to keep being better. And even though he acknowledges there's regrets, it's like, I've heard people be like, you can't have any regrets. And I feel like Kendrick's like, nah, I have regrets and I'm holding on to those because it's going to make me the better man that I want to be. If I let these go and I just kind of shake it off in a sense, it's not going to like actually propel me to be greater than what I am for the woman I'm with, or for, in a sense, his family, his kids and everything.
I
So I
mean,
want to see the family stronger. I
I
want to
kind
see
of
the money
took it
longer.
like he doesn't hold on to his regrets. Like it definitely felt like the
Mm,
opposite. Like he says, I got some regrets, but my past won't keep me from my best. As in, those regrets aren't gonna hold me back. Like it's just otherwise, yes,
fair.
but that semantically didn't line up.
No, fair enough. Maybe I didn't explain it properly. Anyway, no, I thought this was great. This is a 4.7, 4.7 on 5 for me. This is really great. I really enjoyed this.
I mean, I was like, yeah, it's alright. It's slower. It's like singier, and the vibe comes in, and it's nice. It's a nice song. It was less my cup of tea in terms of the sound of it, but like it is super pop, and like if this came on at a party, it could blend kind of nice. Like I could see this maybe being a single at some point. Um, like Blxst and Amanda do their thing, and it's nice. I feel like this song is like simultaneously with individuals in his life, but also communicating with the world at large. Like there's just stuff like, I know I made you wait, but how much can you take? Like this is maybe just talking to the fans or the people out there, like that he made wait, but he's also questioning, can you
Hmm.
handle my truth or what I really feel in life? Because that's kind of what he's giving us on this album. It's not so much the martyr figure that is Kendrick, the guy that came from the last couple of albums that was trying to maybe be Mr. Moral and the Big Stepper. Now it's more like this vulnerable person, and he wants to come through and show you who he actually is, but can you handle it? So when I was listening to it, it felt more like on the parasocial relationship front. And all of this to me kind of felt like, yeah, it's about like maybe a person individually, but it feels like he's talking to the fans a lot, and almost being like, I kind of don't want you to judge me like that. I just kind of want
Hmm.
your love and shit. And there's this fear of putting yourself out there because the world we live in has that, like, yo, it's mad, like, complicated to be yourself. Like, the whole world wildly preaches this false narrative of originality and then ostracizes you the second you try to step out and do anything kind of different. So, like, when he says shit like, can I open up, is it safe or not, I'm afraid a little, you relate or not, I related heavy to that. You know, like, those kind of whole concept of, I don't know, sometimes, yo, there's been a lot of times in my life where, like, people might talk to me on the internet or whatever, and then they come into my crib right in this very room, and like I just don't behave in the way that they were expecting or something. And when they see who I really am, it's like they just don't fuck with me or something, and they like get disappointed and shit. And so it's like, yo, should I ever open up, or should I be that fake fuck you want me to be all the time? You know, like, so
Well,
I just
even with even with that, it kind of also seems like the idea that people have like your presence on social media, you know, the way you are, the way you act, the way you communicate, there is no like emotions or anything. It's just
no,
words
there's
and
tons
people
of
interpret it the
emotions.
way.
There's everything. It's just so fucking not multifaceted. It's not everything.
Mm,
People be different in real life. Like, y'all seeing me on camera, I'm very fucking aware I'm being recorded right now. Like, it's not
mm,
lost on me. This is not the same as when I'm not being recorded. I mean, it's super similar, but it's not the same. Um, so I don't know. I just feel like, again, this is another song almost exploring the fear and anxiety of opening up in a more therapeutic kind of sense, making it more personal about what's actually going on inside his head, and just how at the end of the day he just also wants to just see his family and be stronger and his money grow longer and just have like a meaningful life and shit, and however he wants to be, you know, like he just doesn't want to get judged and shit. And it's
mm.
pretty simple in that regard. But you're right, the way it sounds is really deep and emotional and whatnot. But I mean, like, it's just, personally, I would not really listen to this song again while admiring that it is a well made song. So I'll give it like a 4.25. And we can move on to Father Time. Alright, Chris, how do you feel about Father Time?
Um, I was just saying like on a fourth, fifth listen, this shit hits different. When I first came across this track, I kind of fell into the like Kendrick's commenting on people who have daddy issues, or at least within expressing himself, and like kind of letting you know like these are the reasons he is the way he is, and he understands that he has to kind of cope with the daddy issues through it. But like just listening to it now, it felt like I don't know if his father was around or not around, but it kind of seems like it could be both. Um,
Well, I
I
mean,
like
the first
how
verse, he's kind of describing how the way his dad taught him how to cope was more in that be a
right.
man,
I was
you
just
know?
going into that. I was just kind of looking for for the lyrics, but it's I think it's in the second verse where his dad's like, you know, focus on your money, only trust your mom, only trust that, and like always kind of neglecting the emotions and shit. And for a second, I felt like a lot of dudes go through that. And I think it's supposed to also comment on like fathers are just trying to do the best they can for their sons, but not realizing that like what they're doing could also lead to some traumatic situations within the person's psychology, psychologically. Like I as well have like my dad used to kind of told me to hide my emotions and not really care about like my social life and really just focus on money and getting my grades up and shit, which me personally really fucked with me because my whole entire being is like a social butterfly. Like I need to talk to people, and at times I do enjoy drama and shit. So like it really fucked with me. Um, because now I'm at a point in my life where everything he's ever taught me and like to focus on is kind of what I'm doing now. So it's like I kind of see like a change in where it's like they just want to do right, but they don't know how to, and then we're left with daddy issues because we're not told how to manage our emotions. We're just told to hide them, and we're not like just only focus on things that will get us further and not really like care about anything else. I don't know, man. It just kind of got me in my feels, but this is a really good song. I Yeah, I just kind of fucked myself. I went into like my own head listening to it right now, and I'm just kind of stuck. I gave this a 4.2. It's a really good song. Just I don't know if I'd like go back to it multiple times type shit.
I mean, I think most people aren't going back to this as many. Well, here's the thing: this shit's gonna get listened to by so many people. It's gonna do crazy numbers, and people are gonna go back to it a whole lot. I just think a whole lot of people are gonna go back to it infrequently enough for it to just do crazy numbers forever. Because there is
Mm.
a lot to talk about on the project, and some people really, really do dig the high art philosophy. I listen to music to go down like philosophical tunnels, regardless to what people may think. A lot of people have attention spans.
Mm.
As far as this song goes, again, it starts off with Whitney being like, "Yo, you really need therapy," and his response is, "Nah, I don't need no therapy. It's not how it be. Men don't go need no therapy." And yo, like my dad didn't really grow up with a father, so he grew up on some fucking, be a man shit, fucking go get money shit, and like let's be real, like most dudes were taught to be emotionally repressed uh poser alpha males, like really weak sauce looking cocky dudes. And like, I mean, now I'm saying it with the lens of 2022 because that shit just looked weak as fuck to me. But like back then, it was how you were a man, and like not many people were taught to deal with emotions, and so many dudes be dealing with mental health issues. On top of that, everything's just repressed. Everything's just like kind of keep it inside yourself. And then he's just kind of going through the exploration of how his father's pushing him to be competitive and pushing him to not give in to weakness had the impact that it had, that created the daddy issues that he faces with, that in a sense explains the behaviors and trust issues and various things he's already talked about on the project. And it feels like now we're starting to get into the crux of like what we need to deal with to like solve it. And one of the things is to acknowledge these daddy issues, and just how emotions aren't there. But at the end of the day, he's kind of grateful. He wasn't taught to fight, or I guess I wasn't really 100% sure with that. I love my father for telling me to take off the gloves, because, like that part, I was like, I guess at the end of the day, the lessons his father did give him were impactful enough that there is a benefit to it all. Because then
I
he
think it
goes,
ties into like the first verse where he goes, "Mama said," because he goes,
uh,
I'm teary eyed, want to throw hands. I won't think out loud. A foolish pride. If I lose again, won't
right,
go in the
because his dad
house.
made him take lessons, right? You're right. I see what you're
Right. I
saying.
stayed outside laughing with my friends, daddy issues,
Right,
learn
right,
loss, whatever.
right,
But
right.
then
Okay,
mama
right,
said the
right,
boy
right,
exhausted and
right.
shit.
Everybody else can look it up. Um, anyway, but like, yeah, it just kind of explores shit. Like, I also really like when he acknowledges how he was confused over Kanye and Drake reconciling, because his emotional state didn't fully allow for him to like get over that kind of betrayal, and not
Hmm.
be mature enough for it based on everything he was taught. But ultimately, it's like, yo, at the end of the day, our daddy issues aren't really an excuse. We got to give women a break and be a little bit better than we've been, and just kind of acknowledge it. But yeah, I was going to say, like, the next part for, because everything he didn't want, everything I was. And then just to like tie into the next line, it's like his dad's lessons did impact him, but then shout out to the people who had to do it without a father, because like that, let's hope that they don't pass down the same kind of shit, and we can all be like better. I think it's like a really important song. It's like one of those songs where it's like, yo, nobody ever talks about this shit. This is some real shit. And because of that, you don't want to listen to it because it's some real shit. It's like, this hits real close to home. Men with stunted emotions and whatnot. But like, sonically, it's really cool. One of the things to point out, as you might expect on a Kendrick project, is nothing sounds the same. His delivery is versatile and he grows with it. And in this one, it just feels like this sense of intensity as you go through it, like where he's trying to be more serious with it. And I feel like it's conveyed through the beat, through everything. And I don't know, it's a hard listen. And I feel like that's a lot of this project is hard listens, but they're like got like a reward to it. I give this a 4.5. It's a really well made song. Yeah. Let's move on to the Rich Interlude. How'd you feel about this one, Chris?
This was really cool. Um, I like how Kodak. I never really
You never
listened
listened to
to
Kodak
Kodak.
Black, right? Because nobody.
Like,
That is the most incredible feature.
I mean, here's
Because
the thing:
half
we
the
were supposed to
people.
review that one album, so I listened to that album, whatever the fuck that was,
I'm
and then we
saying
didn't
is
review
like
it.
everybody that hates on Kodak Black is probably going, "What the fuck?" right now. How could Kendrick put Kodak Black on this? What? And he's on 3
No,
songs because he's on the intro of that next track. Plus, he's got that whole. He's on 3 songs on this Kendrick shit.
but like, so okay,
Shut up, Kendrick
when
Lamar. That's dope.
when Kodak goes fuck, where is it? All the game came from the elders, like hand-me-downs. Me and my brothers wearing hand-me-downs. Now I'm giving back to the old heads, and the respect come first. Yeah, can't be better than OGs. You got to get it somewhere. And I think that to me kind of speaks why Kodak is on this project, because Kodak is inevitably one of like the greatest rappers to the young kids. Like, he's like so infamous in the culture and everybody fucking loves him, and he's just banging out tracks and all this shit. But in the sense of like teaching game, it's kind of showing like Kendrick, who's like essentially would be a little bit of an old head compared to Kodak in that regard.
Yeah. He's born in
He's
87.
like, right. Kendrick's like would be the old head, and Kodak is here kind of showing him what the new kids are kind of up to, what their life is like, but also kind of paralleling the same shit that Kendrick has been kind of explaining us about where his background's from and what type of atmosphere he's in. But there is this understanding that like Kodak's making money on some other things that Kendrick may not know in terms of like being the old head. So like having these two on the track, I think it's actually kind of really cool. I like how the piano speeds up. That was dope. Um, I just I don't know. It really just gives me the sense like y'all were really poor and had to just keep surviving, and you did what you had to do. And just the way Kodak flowed on this and the way his voice changes with certain lines, like, what are you doing with Kendrick? What are you doing with a legend? Like, people not really acknowledging that Kodak's a legend, but at the same time, like, questioning the people he's working with. His voice changes in this concern, like, what, haven't I proved to you that I've done this? Like, maybe not just as Kodak, because there's that other line where he's like, who would have thought that I would ever been Kodak? It's like, he's like, how can you not believe in me that I've done this shit? I don't know. I thought it was really cool. I gave it a 4 on 5.
Yeah, this is one of the better parts of the project. Shout out Travis Bryant, who sent me this message. He's like, I can't believe I'm gonna fucking check out a Kendrick Lamar album because of Kodak Black. But yeah, like, this feature was so surprising, unless I guess you really tapped into the culture. If you tapped into the culture, you would know that Kodak Black is really like out there making some waves. And for everybody that like doesn't like his accent or accuse him of mumbling, he's Haitian descent, and he's from the South. Like, he's from Florida and shit. Like, I think. So it's like,
Yep.
yeah, your northern white ass might have some trouble with that accent. I don't know. Sometimes when Australians be talking, I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck they saying. They're still speaking English. They're not mumbling. They just speaking in their localized diction and shit. And motherfuckers in the north especially are hella discriminatory against accents that, like, well, just accents. That's it. Like, they don't like accents, you know? But, like, when you listen to him, he's fucking clear. You can understand everything he's saying. And he just has a very distinct accent in the way he does it. And the way he talks is so, like, stream of consciousness. Like, right away, I learned in trapping in the business part, people making horrible decisions, you know? And it's, like, an interesting thought. Like, if you're watching and you're observant, it's almost like everybody fucks up, or you can learn from all of the mistakes other people make. And then immediately the next thing he says, Rich getting my dick sucked after the show. I ain't gonna lie, we were poor. So it's like, yo, I'm in a place where I watch people fuck up, but I'm also good. And it's like this weird oxymoronic feeling throughout it as he just kind of reflects on his past. And in a sense, it's very similar to the tone of what Kendrick's been doing on this project, only it feels like a Kodak Black mini version of it. And I think it's meant to almost convey that some of these things are more universal. And for the people that are judging, maybe you just don't understand. When you see a Kodak Black talking his shit across his interviews and you judge him on a moral point, because that's what a lot of people do. They judge Kodak Black on a moral and ethical perspective as if they fucking understand his life, and I don't. I've heard some of the interviews where people like get mad at him for some of his comments about his lady artist and shit, but like, again, I don't know anything about his life. I've listened to his music and it sounds like he has some energy. I never really got that deep into Kodak Black stuff, but it's undeniable his impact. Like, it's not like that surprising to me that he's on the project, but it's kind of like amazing because it sounds so good, and the way that piano bit underneath him just cascades, and it's like you just don't picture Kodak Black on a piano loop like that. That just feels like this high art piece monologue thing where you almost want to see it in a museum with a grand piano and Kodak Black in a tuxedo, but like some off-kilter tuxedo, and like everything about the room's trippy, and it's like super visual in my mind, this experience. This is a 5 on 5. It's one of the best parts of the album. Like, I think it's truly incredible. I don't know what else to say about it though, so let's move on to Rich Spirit. Honestly, I don't often geek on the beats a lot. You may have noticed I'm mostly just talking about lyrics and shit. But holy fuck, this beat like stole the show for me. Like, this one, like, here's the thing. It took like fucking 4 or 5 listens again, right? But then all of a sudden you're just like sucked into the groove of the middle of this beautiful beat, and the snap-ins and shit kick in, and I'm like, this just sounds beautiful. All right, Chris, how do you feel about this song?
I mean, I feel the same way in terms of sonically. I kept getting distracted from the lyrics and because the beat was really good. I really like the way he does the chorus. Rich buddy broke phone, trying to keep the balance. I'm staying strong, and just the way it's like super melodic, and his voice is a little bit lower, and he kind of like infuses with the beat. It was just so dope. And like we were saying off cam, like, you just want to snap your fingers and just kind of keep going with it, and it's got this like little bop to it. But I'm like scratching to understand what the song's about, like without being like, oh, he's trying to have a rich spirit and like keeping balance within himself. Yeah,
taking my baby to school, then I pray for her because you bitches ain't never been cool. Writing testament, painting pictures, put me in the Louvre. That's a definite universal shift him in a groove. So I'm taking from this, right, it's like he's got to drop his kids off at school. Then he has to pray for them because now he's got to be with the fake people, the real people and shit. And he be living life at a higher pedigree. Like, he be a living, walking art piece that this, like, shit, like, celebrity do not mean integrity, right? So you take that and it's like, look at these people that are celebrities. I don't want my world around you like that. We are not the same type shit. I'm a good man. Shake your hand. Firm grip rule. Like, I live by this type of shit. And then he gets to, like, you know, his price is high too. Like, you know, it has to flex that shit in. More than 2 amps for a show, but add another 2. So it's like, I'm not just rich. I'm valuable because of all of these things bundled together, I feel like. And then he kind of goes into this chorus where it's like, rich, broke phone, trying to keep the balance, I'm staying strong. So it's like, if you think about everything else that we've heard on the project and him trying to, like, stay humble and deal with the public relations side of everything put together, there is also this side of, I am that valuable. And then when people criticize him, it's like, stop playing with me for I turn you to a song. Like, what a flex. Like, imagine Kendrick Lamar gets mad at you and makes a song about you and then puts it on the internet. Kendrick Lamar made a song about you. Like I mean,
as a bar per bar, I kind of like bar per bar, right? That I understand. Like, stop playing with me for I turn, like that line. Then, I understood. But it's more like, I just like,
and then it's like, I'm attractive. I can't fuck with you no more. I'm fasting. Like, that's a cool line because I'm not, like, you know.
Oh, it's because he's like leveled up
I'm
and
not
he's
eating
not
with you no more. But it's like I feel like it's
Mm.
this acknowledgement of where he's at in the game, and like people need to almost a little bit have some respect for how they deal with him, and I feel like it's a bit of a conflict in his soul, like with how other people portray themselves and behave, and how the world operates, and then the degree of ethical things he's trying to put himself on. And then in the second thing, it's like the morality can wait, feedback on low latency. I'm glitching from the face as my thoughts grow sacredly. I'm running out of space. And it feels like he's just trying so hard to deal with living this high moral life and navigate all these things. And he compares himself and alludes to these various religious leaders. People make like not living up to their money, to the different integrity of who they are. Everything feels kind of fake online and shit. And that's the sense of it. It's like
Which
he's
is cool.
even to the point where like my cousin tried to sue me like he got the privilege. Like it's like everybody kind of not legitimate in his world in that regard. Like, and I feel like that's something a lot of people deal with. So it's not like surprising that Kendrick would also deal with it. But like, I just think it's Kendrick's track exploring how his greatness creates this conflict with other people because he really is that guy and other people can't handle it. And so he's trying, like his phone's broken, right? Like it's like something's off with it. Like maybe people are sending him bad messages, or it seems like the notifications is always kind of pissing him off, or it's like because he's rich, because he's successful. So I think it's like an interesting track. And then just like everyone else, I'm fucking off on the dumb shit. I think it's like a 5 because regardless of the content of this song, I think I just really like listening to it. Like it really
That's
sounds
really
good.
where I got stuck too. I was like, I don't really care for the lyrics. It just overall is a nice bop. Like
Super nice.
I can appreciate the lyrics. I appreciate them, and I like how I really just appreciate his writing and the way he flows and the different pockets he picks. But it's just like as a song itself, this is like I'm really just listening to this to catch the vibe.
I forgot there was a
Not
third
to
verse.
really
I love the way he says brother. It sounds so like
Yes.
Christian Bible belty, like
I didn't really get this. I thought it was like I kind of felt like him
I
and
think
a
it's
frat
just
mate
like fake
went on
camaraderie
this
and shit,
thing.
right? So gotta watch your homies and police, clout chasing hell of a disease and fasting 4 days of the week, but that brother. And like if you think about it, I think it's just making fun of how everybody's your homie now. Everybody's giving everybody daps. Like, yo, you walk into the bar last night, how's everybody your friend? Like I mean we're not we're not that we're not cool. I have no problems with anybody. But like I don't know, it's like everybody's so fake connected and everything's so fake this and fake that. But the way he said brother in such an emphasis in that way, like it really just made me feel like this is some like really corny fake shit to him, and everybody's just trying to pretend to be homies for shit. Like man, the number of people that act like they're friends and all they really do is have commodified relationships of commercial transactions, but they're home, and then you stop working together, you're not friends no more. I don't know. I really like this song. Like I said, I just forgot it was a third verse when I gave my grade. We're tired. We was long nights. Very sleep deprived. Appreciate it. Do you have more to say on this one, Chris?
No, I gave this a 4.2 on 5. I thought I really do enjoy it. Again, I'm gonna say this now and I'm gonna repeat it a little bit later for the other half of the interview, but like a lot of these I have to go back to and like really sit with them. I don't think that even on like 4 listens with the time that I have, I'm gonna be able to understand a lot of what like the nuances and the fucking references and shit. But so just reminding y'all viewers watching this and the Kendrick fans,
but throw all of your
like,
long comments, your essays down below, because if you put like 1,000 words into that comments, I will read all 1,000 of your words.
Please educate us.
Meanwhile, here's the one that y'all are geeking over upon a first listen. I mean, my Facebook went like this was the one everybody said was the best. We cried together.
Oh my god.
Well, that song is pretty intense. It makes you feel very quiet. Like you're not like all the jokes are no longer inside of your joking soul.
I don't need 6 minutes of this. That's like I said it the first time I heard it. Okay. Yeah, no, like what right after I heard the whole thing, I was like, I don't want 6 minutes of just you guys arguing at each other. It really fucked my brain up. It really, really fucked my brain up. Um, like just everything. The way they're like teasing each other, the way they like their ad libs are commenting on what they're saying, and they're like antagonizing each other. Um, just like the spiteful insults just to hurt one another with no actual fact behind it. Just everything. This is literally just a whole relationship fight, this that. But then just listening to it now, I'm kind of like, when he mentions the whole part about like, is this what relationships do? Shouldn't I have been cuffing you? I think this is like, they're not actually together, they're just kind of like dealing with each other type shit. um Look, I get the artistic and the messaging behind this, and that like for fuck, man, I don't know, dude, this thing really fucked me
So
up.
what I'm
I feel like,
understanding is this hit
because okay,
song
hold on.
hit Chris so close to home, he couldn't handle listening to it proper, thus making it
Like,
one hell of an effective song in the goal
it's
it
an
set out to
effective
be.
song. Don't get me wrong.
Like, it's
Like,
really
it's
like
a really
Sabrina from fucking Yellow Wolf level of fucking impactful in that
uh
regard, you know?
yes, like it's fuck, man. Like, I have nothing to touch upon like the Harvey Weinstein or the R. Kelly bar. That's I was like, I ain't touching that.
So
But
why'd you
I
say
just,
it? Why did you bring attention to it?
because I want you to actually touch upon
Why
it,
do
because
I?
I want to know why it was there. I just don't know anything about the situation. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anyway, fuck. I just, because the way I took it also was like, instead of working on yourselves and getting help for yourselves to try to learn how to communicate properly, this is the shit that you have to deal with. And then you just hurt each other based off of whatever, and then just you just end up fucking at the end, because why the fuck not? And like, as much as I get it and the realism is absolutely there, I'm just like, nah, like, I'm not listening to 6 minutes of just you guys yelling at each other and arguing. Like, I don't even want that in my
I
life for
mean,
my own
I
personal
say
life.
that,
Like,
but like,
oh,
I used to listen to
fuck.
Kim by Eminem all the time, and
I couldn't.
I used to
Like, it
listen
was
to that
just,
shit all the time back in the day. So like, you, Chris Chrome,
yeah, I'm only
don't
speaking
want
for Chris,
6 minutes of this shit. Understood. But like, arguably, it's a super interesting song, right?
yes,
Because
it is. It is.
it like kind of starts off. Yes, we cry together. Facts. Good comment. But like, it starts off with the Florence and the Machine a little bit, and it's all soft and nice, and we hold on, and then it's just like it breaks into this fight situation when the beat flips, right? Because right before that, this is what the world sounds like, you know. Um,
Peace and harmony.
what's really interesting is like I think all of us have had that neighbor where you hear this fight happen. Like, Chris, do you remember when we used to hear that it sounded like some dude was beating a chick when we were doing reviews? Like, there's one review where, like, you hear it and we all just, like, stop and somebody commented on it, like, in the last 6 months and, like, heard it, right? But, like, you hear this shit sometimes. You know, one time I go to my dad's crib and, like, I'm in the hallway and I just heard it was like 5 minutes and everything this dude was saying to this chick. I couldn't tell if there was a girl there if he was on the phone, but it sounded like he was about to beat the shit out of her and stuff. So like, whether it's like Kendrick's personal experiences or stuff he's borne witness to, I think it's just really real. So it's what the world sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been there, done that. All of that. I mean, maybe different verbiage, but I like how it just starts so gradual, right? Like, I swear I'm tired of these emotional ass, ungrateful ass bitches. And she's like, oh, shut the fuck up. And it'll just be like, you know, that's how it starts. Like, you just have some fucking petty bullshit. You spit some crap, unstable ass confrontation. Those dumb bitches want to bring a person down. Even when I'm trying to do right, we could, you know, it's like whiny shit. And then she's like, fuck you. You love a pity party. I won't show up. And yo, her delivery. Taylour Paige stole the motherfucking
Yeah.
show. Holy
The way
crap.
she flipped that
Bro.
psychology line and her like voice fucking
Oh
crack,
my
that was
gosh.
crazy.
When she's like, I should have found a bigger dick. I'm like, oh my gosh, like everything about this
when
shit.
the clapping starts,
That's
your
what I mean.
ego gets hit.
It's like everything about this track was like really powerful to me. It's like they accuse each other of cheating, of like, well, he cheats on her, and then she's like, oh, fuck your cousin, and like, you know, are like all that, like touching on this dick size, like fucking going down the conventional insults that everybody would be doing. But then in that third verse, that whole part, I really think it makes it interesting, is because it touches on a lot of the social issues that women bring up in terms of being overlooked, underpaid, underbooked, undershamed. If you look, I don't speak, then I'm called on my name. Yo, there's like a study they did that showed that like women be wildly silenced in meetings at work and shit, and like if women speak 33% of the time, men feel like they dominated the conversation and shit. And like I think it's just an interesting way where it's like his egocentric fucking like fuck you-ness and not willing to listen to what she's uncomfortable with or her like insecurities and shit. How like, yo, like she's even saying shit in the middle like, yo, I went to like church and shit to try to like figure out why I'm not good enough for you because you're fucking womanizing, broke my esteem and shit. And like all of these different things kind of like compound into like her snapping and being like, you are the reason that bitches start fucking with bitches until they change. You the reason bitches start calling y'all bitches because y'all useless. Because men basically turn into giant pity party fucking daddy issue having guys. Because if you go back a couple of tracks with the daddy issues, he's already presented a certain degree of the problem and shit. And then commenting on how the systemic world of how Harvey Weinstein and R. Kelly can exist. Like R. Kelly got surrounded by justifiers, so he can't understand his abuse, and Harvey Weinstein had to go to, I don't remember his case enough. Anyway, he had to go to jail and shit, and everything happened the way it did. And then he flips it, like as much as R. Kelly did all this shit, like women still bump R. Kelly songs. Like R. Kelly's a fascinating case because for everything R. Kelly did that's awful, like the way women treated R. Kelly was kind of just as awful. Like he would go to shows and like women would be grabbing his dick and shit. It was really weird to watch how women treat R. Kelly for all of the conversational shit. So it's like a little bit him flipping it, like when you try to equate my individual behaviors to these grandiose social issues, it's fucked up because look at the hypocrisy in your arguments. And then everybody looks like a victim. Women don't support each other. And you know, these are all, you could find all of this on Twitter. You know, I really enjoy this song. I think it's really well made. The way it flips into the sex at the end, like, yeah, that's super realistic. In a lot of ways, I find couples fight to fuck because it creates there's this whole psychological thingy, this like A-B response shit. I don't remember what it's called, but basically you create lows because they magnify your highs. And so people go into these weird cycles. And I think it's cool how it just kind of flows into tap dancing, which to me feels like it's the same old song and dance, right? And then if you think about it, again, Whitney's on this track, right? She's at the very end, stop tap dancing around the conversation, right? So it's like,
not just that, but the tap dancing is also laced into the like. There's tapping of him tap dancing on like other tracks too. Like that's also a current theme that goes throughout the project as well. The tap dancing. So it's cool how with that and when she's like addressing the tap dancing around the conversation with the emphasis of the sound, it's like she's looking at him like, "Yo, don't beat around the bush. Like what is really going on? Let's have this conversation." And then also just tying that with the theme of the sounds that we've been getting.
But it's like, yeah, it kind of feels like the sex is just a way to like escape the actual confrontation and getting to the solution. It's like it's easier to just run from it. I think it's like a 4.5. I think a lot of people are going to hype this shit up like the greatest thing that's ever been written. And while I do think it's a super honest and powerful piece, I don't know that I want to listen to it ever again. Like it did its deed for me and we're good. And I really like it. It made me think a bit, but I don't know. Like a lot of people like I like it from all the technical levels of the song, but Um, I think it's delivered well, but I guess maybe it's just because it feels like that's my past and like I just don't have that turbulent shit in my life anymore. It's like to me, I don't know. I don't empathize as deeply with it, but
That's like where I'm at too. Is just I'm trying to not have these type of issues in
but
my life,
at the
and
same time, it's super real,
yeah,
authentic sounding, and I really like it. It's one of those weird ones where it's like I don't know. Maybe in the future I'd be in a mood where I want to go listen to that because in a different mood I would. But in the current frame of mind I have, it's like to me a really powerful thing. Like when you watch a movie and get this crazy emotional response and it makes you ponder and shit, and then you move on with your life. That's what I
you know what's
feel
gonna
from We Cry
happen.
Together. But this shit's gonna get praised forever and people are gonna love it. And y'all can let me
You
know
know,
in the comments if you disagree with me. That's fair.
you know what's gonna happen for me. I'm gonna probably encounter a situation along the lines of this, maybe not as hectic, and then I'm gonna be lying in my bed in my room, and this song is gonna randomly just shuffle on, and I'm gonna like be super in that like zone and pensive, and then all of this is gonna make sense to me.
I
But
mean,
like
like it all makes sense. I think
it
it's like
does.
in a
I just
sense, it's like, you know what the thing is everybody can relate to this song, having
yeah.
either lived it or witnessed it. So it's super fucking honest. It's just like my desire to listen to it is more the issue than the quality of the song. So it's a
Mm.
4.5 because it's extremely well made. And the beat's cool too. The way everything flows together and just kind of feels like you're a fly on the wall in this conversation is dope. Anyway, we still have a lot of album to go. Let's move on to Purple Hearts, the last track on the first disc. How do you feel about this one?
This was cool. This was really, really cool. I like how we're kind of getting this like idea that we're induced. I'm tippy toeing and I'm mud walking. I did check the Genius annotation, but apparently that's like referred to like walking around while sipping lean, which I've heard rappers use the word mud for lean, so that's cool. Rolling sevens, I ain't ready for no coffin. You're living life. You're being lucky. You don't want to die. You have, you know, when the drugs are talking to you, you're in love with it and everything. But then like I got kind of confused with the shut the fuck up when you hear love talking. I was like, are we talking about like literal love or is this like love
Yo, but check
within
it.
like the
It's like
drugs,
motherfuckers
right?
be shutting the fuck up and listening to whatever. So, but whenever they hear love talking, they want to argue with
Mm.
it. So, yo, it's saying like, it's like a love song, right? And
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because so
but like a
um
love of self song, like, and that's what I think it is. It's like, yo, instead of maybe like relying on certain things, it's like their manifestation of what love is and the purity of love, but then like adding in that like almost hook of the idea of, yo, shut the fuck up when you hear love talking, stop arguing with the good shit.
fair. I felt like Kendrick. So the lines that stood out to me in Kendrick, right, was like two stepping away from rappers. I don't trust their true intentions. I'm in the music business. I'm not in the music business. I've been in the human business. I like how he like makes human kind of sound like music a little bit. How he kind of like holds those notes together. That's cool. Um, I like how he's like distancing himself from others and trying to be with like real people and stuff like that. But I didn't quite fully understand like his whole verse. Summer Walker, I understood like she's expressing like she's feeling pain and with her boyfriend and then her baby daddy. And like I also am a little because fuck. I also know Summer Walker is really open with like a lot of her projects. She really talks about like women's struggles with dealing with relationships and like what love is to women and stuff like that. Like I've heard a lot about Summer Walker. I've never actually peeped any of her shit. So this is just based off of like the podcast I listened to. So for her verse, I was like, this is like a love song. This is like a
Did you
woman
just
expressing
regurgitate Joe Budden's opinion?
no, not even an opinion. It's actually from Maury and Mal Damaris, like fucking
Anyway,
docs over
I knew
Summer
it was
Walker.
that camp. I knew that's where you got this from.
But no, but like that's what I know about Summer Walker, and just given this verse, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. But even if I didn't know, this verse itself also gave me that like, okay, there is some like lovey in here, and she's expressing how she feels with her situations. Ghostface Killah to me kind of like is commenting with both Kendrick and Summer Walker's verse as like, yo, the world's fucked up, and these two verses are why, and then he proceeds to kind of just be like, we need a change. our world is fucking screwed. The world's in the Twilight Zone. This is the fifth dimension. God, please blow the whistle. We need an intermission. We need a break. We need to like my good deeds in front of your door. I'm standing by the entrance because he's trying to be better. He's trying to do all these things, but like he's lost people. He's seen tragic. There's death. There's negativity. So like those two verses I understood. Kendrick's I didn't really, but I thought this was cool. I thought like this was really good to like the way they all flowed, the way that the beat just kind of like keeps you consistently just connected to it was dope. Yeah, man, it's a 4.5 on 5. Like, I ain't gonna.
So yo, I'm not even feeling the same way at all. This shit was like, look, this came on and I was like, oh, this is not my cup of tea at all. Like it's like a slower love song sounding. He's like crooning at me in the chorus. I get the point of it, you know, like I appreciate how he's looking for like the pure essence of love.
Right.
How like I feel like it's beyond just, you know, the temptations and the various things we use to kind of induce love in our life. He's kind of going away from fake people and just looking for actual love, and it's almost like the first part of the verse is for each of the or the first part of the verse is present like an insecurity of sorts because of how people kind of be. His life is kind of like forbidden fruit. My bitch know better than I do. A woman's worth. I barely went to church. I'd rather fast with you than fuck it up. Fucking with skirts because I'm rational. So he's kind of showing that like it's not like it's like a conflict situation, and then he moves it on to like look into the forgiveness and the healing and that kind of side of it.
Right.
And then it just kind of flips it. And then she kind of does the same thing, but like, you know, I don't like the pain that gets caused, almost like she's responding to Kendrick. Like their love has impact on each other. And then she's like, it's not love if you're judging me. It's not love if you're not going to eat my ass. It's not love if you're not really going to care about my happiness and what's this. And it's because of the way that you're not like properly expressing the love and giving real love is why I'm anti everyone before this mass, which is a little COVID bar, you know, because now everyone's. And then I feel like Ghostface comes through and is like, let's look past the human conditions and focus on the real love of the bigger energies and try to focus on just being the best we can be. So it's almost like he's like the solution to the situation is how I felt it. But I thought it was again a really honest look at shit, and it's just like I think it's like trying to like close all the wounds that have been explored a bit and be like, with the power of love we can forgive in a sense, and to take it where like people I think the whole shut the fuck up when you hear love talking thing is just so interesting because people will argue with that shit inherently. I don't know, I just found this one slower, and like I really love Ghostface Killah's verse, but like having to get there was not fun for me. It was not my favorite. It's like 5.5 minutes and I wasn't really feeling it, but I respect it. It's a good song, so I'll give it like a 4.2 because it's extremely well made for what it is. I just didn't like it. Yeah. Yo, the next track on the project is called Count Me Out. Alright, Chris, how do you feel about Count Me Out, the second half of the project?
So I like how this starts off on like a really serious note. Like in terms of just within the intro, right? So we're addressing him by Mr. Duckworth, his actual name. Kind of gives me this feeling like we're now going to be a little bit more about him, less about, I guess, commentaries on some other shit. And then just the session 10 breakthrough speaks a lot, where it's like, wow, okay, it took you 10 sessions to kind of find this breakthrough through whatever you're going through, whether that's a lot or a little, to whoever cares about that. It's just kind of showing you like when you put in the work, if you're going to go to therapy and you're trying to work on yourself and you're trying to figure out how to like love yourself and shit, you know, there is a breakthrough. Just so happens that maybe for Kendrick it took 10 sessions. So I thought that spoke a lot.
It's also track 10.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh fuck.
And it's like the start of the second part of the project where it's like it flips and it's like, okay, now we've gone through all that shit, here's the breakthrough, and it's like a complete tone shift.
Right. And I feel like Kendrick is like explaining here how he's acknowledging that he's done so much for people. I care too much, want to share too much. I'm in my head too much. I shut down. I ain't there too much. No, that's not even it. Fuck, that's the wrong lyric. But even with that, I shut down. I ain't there too much. I'm complex. So they layered me up. They broke me down. And morality's thus. I lack in trust. It's like you get this sense where he's like, I'm trying to do so much for everyone else, and it's just causing me pain. I don't know how to like be myself and maybe not care so much, but at the same time also be the people you want me to be. And it just kind of really puts me in this state of like shit. Like this is Kendrick just talking to me, and I feel like I feel helpless. Like I can't really help him, and that's kind of what I get from this. Like he kind of is letting you know this in some like messaging way to be able to help you get through whatever you're going through. But at the same time, it's like nobody can help me but myself, and that's kind of what I took away from this. I also like how with the chorus, it's like I love when you count me out. In terms of for the way I took it was like when you don't speak about me, when you don't invite me to places, I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with you guys leaving me out of like these events and shit because I don't even really want to be there. I don't even really want to have to deal with like all of these fakeness and like just things I don't want to deal with. um that's kind of what I took from this. There is a lot. I really like how the song is. There's a lot to it. Like even where is it? Like even within like the bridges, it changes within his voice, and the beats got this like wavy airness to it, and you're kind of like floating while he's like talking to you. Where when you was at your lowest, tell me where the hose was at. When you was at your lowest, tell me where the bros was at. 3:30 in the morning, scrolling through the call log, and it's like you get this sense of like you're just stuck in this depression and just scrolling your phone, looking at Facebook, looking for something that can give you some sort of hope or some sort of happiness. And also plays on the fact that you're dealing with insomnia and you can't sleep and you're just like you just got all these things running through your head. It's great. It's great. I was like I really more resonated with the fact of like, yo, just leave me out of this. Let like y'all go do your shit and let me just do what I gotta do. I like how when he says, I wanted my best in verse 2, I wanted my best version, but you ignored me, then changed the story, pauses, and then says it again to re-emphasize that like I'm trying to be as truthful as it is, and I can acknowledge that y'all are changing the shit. Y'all are making it seem to be something different. And I also like well, good energy in the room. Drop the location, please. Antibiotics for the room when I'm frustrated, please. The way he like holds that please and the way that his voice changes, that was also really cool as well. I like the layering of like antibiotics for the womb when I'm frustrated, please. And then he kind of says it again with like an ad lib type. That was also cool the way it kind of like broke up the verse. I did like that. um yeah, I really liked a lot of this. I gave this a 4.5 on 5.
I mean, it's a strong song. I feel like it's meant to come through and change the tone again. We started seeing Eckhart Tolle appear more on it, and from what I understand, he's like one of them dudes that teaches lifestyle stuff. So like he I don't know, whatever. Y'all can go tell me what I'm wrong about him in the comments, but it's just fitting that like he kind of starts appearing, and it feels like the whole first half of this project was like diagnosing the pain, and now we're gonna like start the recovery process. And
Mm.
like, cause right away, like we're kind of going through, I guess, a similar sense of the subject matter, but the tone has shifted. One of these lives, I'm gonna make things right with the wrongs I've done. That's one of you now with the father's son. Till then, I fight. Rain on me, put the blame on me, etc. Like you see this like instant like effort of like trying to fix things or to improve. And then while he's looking at his wealth and everything and the complicated nature of his life, what ends up shifting is instead of passing blame or being mad at other people or dodging rappers and all this shit, we get wipe my ego, dodge my pride, look myself in the mirror. Amityville ain't seen nothing scarier. So it's like looking within oneself is really the scary thing, and having to learn to deal with one's emotions and egos and all of that stuff is really when we can start to see the change happen. I really liked when he said, "If I didn't learn to love myself, forgive myself 100 times," because like, yo,
That was strong
that's
too.
really
Yeah.
what it is. At a certain point, look, I done some shit in my life that some of y'all may judge me for if you ever found out about. Like everyone has, but the truth is I forgive myself for all the things I've done because when that took so long, and it's like it's a hard process, and you have to do like a lot of like growing and stuff to get there. But like when you go on that journey, it is really important. And then I like how he flips the song into that. I love when you count me out, as though it kind of goes back to the general conversation of other people's opinions of him. Now, while he's come
Mm,
to these realizations, it's like it goes back into the greater conversation of other people and how it becomes like this motivation. But can we just acknowledge how the ad libs play into it, where he's like, "Wah, woo," and you're like,
yeah.
I just wasn't expecting them. Like they work so well, but they're almost like playing on pop ad libs where it like ain't nobody but the mirror looking for the fallout. And you're
Oh
like, and I'm like,
shit.
what? What's happening with these ad libs? But they sound so good in the way that they fit in this song. So I don't know if there's some deeper commentary there, but it was something that popped out at me. And overall, I feel like he's then come to like you get the sense he's come to terms with himself, and now he's trying to bring it up to other people. Like, how you gonna win my trust when the lies run deep? How you gonna bend your love when the bad don't sleep? Beep beep, crash our feelings in the middle of the street. And it feels like now it's like, how are we gonna deal with each other? Because then you have these things like where were your people at when you were on your
Yeah.
lows and shit. I also love the fuck it up, fuck it up, fuck it up, fuck it up, fucking it up. Like the way that flows through, and it just feels like life is chaotic, and it feels like this emotional range of expressiveness that flows throughout the song. Then he, I don't know, the second verse just kind of looks like he's trying to find the best version of himself, and while other people pass the buck, ultimately he's still left with ego. And as much as he wants to beat his ego, he still succumbs to it. So regardless of how other people feel, he's gonna bounce back, etc. And then the outro thing where he's like, miss regrets, where it sounds like I miss regrets, or I have miss, like, I miss the things in my past that create regrets, or like miss regrets, like he's talking to a woman named
Right. Yeah.
regrets, and that like play on that shit. And he's kind of looking at the past, and he's trying to deal with doing his best and the complications with it. And then at the end, it's like, yo, but this is me. I'm blessed. And it's like, this is who I am, regardless to all of this shit, everything that happens, what you may think of me. And then just ending with anybody fighting through the stress, anybody fighting through. But I also like the way the beat cuts, and he starts adding that a ad lib, and then it's just like, this is me and I'm blessed. And then he's dropped the beat, and it's just the a, and then anybody fighting through the stress, anybody fighting through the, and then it cuts to like tap dancing, right, to allude back to the tap dancing. That's like the
Mm,
deeper concept of the album. And I'm like,
mm.
that's pretty cool. So anybody trying to deal with their own fucking version of this bullshit, it's like, yo, it actually gets better. You can like get blessed too. Get past the ego and the regrets and stuff. The thing is that I don't know, like conceptually it's super fire, extremely
Hmm.
well made. It's a little less on the I want to listen to it front, but I respect it a lot, and it's like another 4.25 for me. It definitely shows we're going down a different angle on this half of the project, and I respect that stills. So let's find out more with Crown. It's interesting how like 2 tracks ago he's like, shut the fuck up and listen when love talking, and now we're like, what the fuck is love? Like 2 tracks later,
Well,
like, what the fuck is
but
love anyway?
I don't think it. I don't. Okay. So with the first one, right? I feel like as much as this is also like Kendrick, I think this is also like how some people in the world kind of fight for like a purpose or fight to prove that they love their partner, their friend, their family, their this, that in certain ways, right? So like you're walking around like everything is in control. Things are clearly not in control. That's what that implies. And you're still kind of looking like, you're king shit. Favor come with favors and you can't say no. You just don't know how to like kind of have that backbone sort of, but you feel like you can't say no because you love these people. And then go out of your way to make the coin available. That's what I call love. And I like how he's kind of showing you like, if you need money, I got you, and I'll go out of my way and I'll protect you and I'll hold you down. but the way he says the word love, like it's all soft and nice. Like the whole kind of verse is really soft, slow spoken, and then kind of like nice. And then love just has this like love. Like I don't want to, like, this isn't what love is. Like me going to do these things, giving you money and stuff is not what true love is. It's what I feel for you or whatnot, right? Um, the closest one's afraid to say they need some time. I don't quite know what that means. I feel like it's I need like just I can't tell my close friends that I need time to be alone. Like I still feel like I have to be responsible for you. And I think that this is really cool. Like he really kind of captivates how, at least sometimes how I feel, at least when I do things for people and when I go out of my way and try to like just be that like savior in a sense, because they kind of look at me in a way. Um then we get the pre-chorus where it's kind of just letting you know, like, yo, there's gonna come a time where you're gonna need somebody and nobody's gonna be there, or no, somebody's gonna need you and you're not gonna be there. But like, what's gonna happen then? If you say no to them, they just kind of forget all the good things they've done, and I feel like that happens with like a lot of people. You know, it's we kind of take for granted a lot of the good things that people do for us, and we don't really appreciate it as much. We kind of more like turns into like an expectation. And then once that person kind of stands up for themselves, you, me, whoever, kind of, I feel like it's supposed to be like, yo, you've never done anything for me. What the fuck? I don't ask you for much. And it's like, bro, like, you know, gave you a place to stay, gave you food, this, that, like I took care of you and shit.
Right.
Um, and then just coming to the realization, like, yo, I can't please everybody. Like, not, it doesn't matter what the fuck I do. But I like how it's like, no, I can't please everybody, like that certainty. And then he goes, wait, like kind of struggling in his brain, like, yo, maybe I can. Like, no, I can't. Like still stuck in that loop. And then he's like, nah, you can't please everybody. No, I can't. The second verse, I feel like is directly talking to his fans, and how people kind of look at him and being the best person ever, but like for them, for them to feel like he loves them, he has to keep giving them stuff, he has to keep giving them music, he can't go away for 5 years or else they don't feel like he loves them. And I think he's like kind of
I
commenting
mean,
like that's
he
not what.
just said he says like they idolize and praise your name across the nation. So he's saying they praise you, tap their feet and nod their heads so they fuck with it. Promise that you keep the music in rotation. You as the fan, if you have to promise to keep playing it, and then that's what I call love.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I kind of took it like the other way, where like he's kind of speaking from a perspective of a fan, where like they want him to keep having new music in rotation, and to them
I
that's
know
what
how
they
you
call
took it.
love, right? um and then you know, you just kind of come back with the pre-chorus, which just solidifies that idea of like when everything's gone. But I like how there's the ad
It's
libs that are kind of off time.
right.
So that was cool to me. And then third verse just kind of felt like just more emphasizing on the I can't please everybody. And then it just kind of ends on that like repetitive outro, which
No,
I
no,
think
like
really gives.
literally the third verse has a whole other part. If you're gonna go through the song, go through the song. He flips it to I can't please myself. And then the vapid nature of materialism to try to solve the problems because it doesn't do
Hmm.
it. And then how can he please people if he can't please someone else? It's not just repetitive. Then he goes into that.
Well, there's that. Um, I thought it was cool. Like I think the messaging in itself was very like I got it on the first shot. I kind of understand like where you're going with it, so I didn't really have to go too deep into that. I give it a 4.1.
Fair enough. Uh, Basically, this song kind of explores what love really is. Like I said before, the way people often interpret love, it's going to be something like, oh, if you got money, make money available. If you can pay for this or help people out, that's love. And you look at how people behave, everything's kind of transactional and commercial and shit. So you manifest it like that. And then you have to constantly like pursue it. So when you take that line, like closest one's afraid to say they need some time, it's like, yo, people be like afraid to stop giving that love because if you disappear from people, it's like they forget you exist or something, and then that kind of gets reinforced by like the way he flips the love, and it's like you have to go out of your way to compromise, etc., and you always got to put yourself out, and as long as you're being altruistic in your actions and constantly giving, that's love. And then it kind of flips the tone of it a bit, you know, and goes into like, yo, love be changing with the seasons. People be fucking fickle with all of your love. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, leaving you with the sense that you can't please everybody. And the way he does flip it, you know, it's kind of this realization of like, shit, no matter what I do, I can't please everybody. You're always going to be kind of like fucked up with it. I mean, I just think like the refrain part where he quotes Shakespeare is super interesting because it's heavy is the head that chose to wear the crown, to whom is given much is required now. So it's like he chose this life, right? Like anybody that ends up in a position like Kendrick Lamar has chose this life. And when you do get that level of responsibility, a lot comes with it. And because of that, it's like you have to accept and understand that you can't please people, because a lot of people, when they get into a position of influence, get stuck trying to constantly maintain love and constantly giving, and it's impossible. That's where it's like that one live, it's like love gonna get you killed, because it's like if you're constantly giving, like, yo, people be wildly depressed and stressed and fucking miserable over that shit because they're constantly trying to give and people don't take care of their own self. And then the way the outro just layers, it's like, I can't please everybody, I can't please everybody. Then it's like, I can't please, you know, it just kind of drops a bit. Like it's, and then everybody becomes like the ad lib. And then it's just like, can't please. And it's like, just like this sense of like, there's no satisfaction, you know? And I really appreciate the way he puts it out, that it's like, I can't make people happy, I can't make myself happy. And it's like, again, this next level of awareness that like, this cycle's broken, and maybe that's not really what love is, and that can't be what love is, because it doesn't make any sense. And it sounds really beautiful. It's like, it's one of those songs where like I'd never go to my way to listen to, but if it came on, I really enjoy it. The way the beat kind of builds up and gets more progressive, and it almost feels like a little angelic and uplifting and building up, like this like sense of empowerment comes through it. Like it's like an affirmation, like I can't please everybody, you got to remember that as you go throughout your day. It's like a solid 4.5. I really like this track. And the next one has Kodak Black on it, so let's talk about Silent Hill. What do you think about this one?
I like this one. I mean, to me, this is really like fuck the haters. Don't like indulge in the negativity. Like forget the comments and like just keep sticking to you. Keep doing what you do and don't let that like affect your focus, your grind, and moving forward. I like how in the intro Kendrick is like kind of questioning why people keep fucking with him, and like he's trying to be this like good person, but he's gonna like jumping out of your skin. To me kind of feels like I'm trying to be the guy you want, but if you keep fucking with me, I'm gonna have to be the person inside, the person that I know that I'm trying to like control in a sense. Where he's like, believe me, it's just like, trust, you don't want to deal with that. And then the chorus was just really cool, like the way he like changes it up, and he kind of sounds like he's kind of like doing the mumble thing with like the accent and like the kind of the there, like that was cool. And the hue was just dope. I like it. Um, but like this kind of just felt more regular, like a radio hit type. Like it had that like bop to it. It had that like that just that feel to it. And Kendrick did nice. Like I be immune and shit. Tuck in the broom and shit. Yeah,
What do
you're
you have
just
to say
sweeping up
about those
people.
bars, Chris? Like, what do you actually have to
Like
say about those bars?
nothing. I'm just
So
because
then
I'm saying
don't
it
quote
like
all the bars if you don't have anything to say about the bars.
they're
It's
just
already
good
hours in,
because
Chris.
fair
Don't be
enough. I mean,
fillering.
I'm fair enough. What I do want to say though is for Kodak Black, that was an impressive verse. I really just like how he flowed, switched up his flow, the way he just like was just so nonchalant about being in the pocket and just kind of going at it. I liked it. It landed at a 4 on 5 for me. It was just good. That's what it was.
I feel like this track comes through, and again, it's super interesting that Kodak Black's on it. I don't know if Silent Hill is like a reference to the video game or not. Maybe because like the video game is like a spooky horror-ish sense. It's like the vibe of people comes off like Life Be Silent Hill or some shit like that. Maybe I'm
Mm.
reaching. I never played Silent Hill, um, but I definitely feel like yeah, Kendrick be tired of people in his like sense of like trying to find love and finding his own wave. It's like you have to kind of get rid of the bad people and the snakes in your life and shit. And I feel like this is like his song of casting off the demons in his world and pushing away the people. And it's like this like literal sense of disgust in that like that he puts in. I find that's like really fun. And I feel like with his verse, it's like he's just kind of feels strong. People are gonna think about him, talk about him, etc. It is what it is. People be fake. It doesn't feel like he has a lot to add to this topic so much as he's just reaffirming how little it matters to him. So it's like he doesn't really delve into it with as much detail. And it was kind of like his verses are pretty short and shit. And then like he follows it up with this notion of being stressed, and then like his daughter kind of gives him this reminder of like love and shit. Also with Kodak Black's verse, I really appreciated the part where like he also points out like every Thursday is girls day, spending time with my daughter make me go harder. Every Sunday son's day, teach my boy to be a man, ain't had no father. So it's like this idea of him trying to like recognize that he can break certain generational trends by being there for his kids and shit is really cool, and how both their kids kind of inspire them to find love and to pursue that is really interesting as well, because again, the main theme of this side of this project is I think what is love, right? So looking for love in the middle of all of this hate, and then realizing like in your kids and shit is something there. And this, like, you talk too much, you making an awkward love, and I just think it's important that like the consistent way love gets brought up on this half of the album. And then I don't really know that I've listened to a lot of Kodak Black's verses before, but anybody that says this guy doesn't enunciate is really wrong. Like his actual flow is ridiculous. The way he like rhyme shit is just so fucking impressive. Like the cubicle rhymed with funeral shit was like, damn son, you be like really rapping really like proper. His timing is impeccable. The way he flows on everything is just amazing. I don't fully understand half the shit he talking about, but I can't imagine that a diamond that looks like a ring pop is a fat ass diamond, because I'd be liking ring pops and shit. I like the like pauses in the beat, like the way he's like, I had to survive off a tuna pack, and just like leaves it hanging for a second, lets that beat breathe before continuing it on and almost transitioning the tone of the verse. And it just kind of ends that even though like he's trying to be a better example to others, he's still kind of almost like addicted to the streets because that's what he got raised off of. And I think it's interesting. It's like I don't want to like fucking rob you per se. I want to kill you, but I might rob you anyway if I'm gonna do that. Like that's just how he ends the verse, and it's like that's just harsh. It's almost like Kodak, in a sense, brings this other energy into it where it's just so much harsher and so much more raw, in a sense of like not what Kendrick brings to the table there. Like I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know if I'm like describing that well, but either way, I really enjoyed this song. I think it like comes off like more of a radio hit, yeah, but that's because Kodak fucking is just on that pop shit. Like he is one of those dudes. So I think Kendrick does match Kodak a bit more on this, showing his versatility to kind of blend in with the newer shit. And what Kodak said earlier, as we pointed out, was as much as like he gives help out to the OGs, he promised that Kendrick and him are gonna make a lot of money off of this shit. Da 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 da. And look, the Kodak Kendrick song is gonna be a huge smash ultimately, thus living up to the promise made earlier on the project. And in a sense, that's love. It's the opposite of it. So I thought that was
Mm.
super cool. Maybe I'm reaching there a little bit, but I get it's a 4.5. Really enjoyable song. And then we get our next interlude, the Savior interlude, as we start the third of the album. What do you think, Chris?
Um, yeah, I'm still kind of left with like I don't really know what the purpose of this song was. I like it. Baby Keem does really fucking great on it. The flows and everything are super cool. But I was like, I like you had that one song with Kendrick, and I see why I guess he put you on here.
Aren't they
I'm pretty sure you're
cousins?
like, I don't know. I don't know. I think he's like the new part of TD. I don't know. I'm not don't quote me on anything. But like it's just I like it. I like it.
Yeah, he's
And I
Kendrick's
like
cousin.
how dope. I like how he just does his thing and shows out, and the way his tone changes on certain parts of the verse, and the way he just like flips out. The what stands out to me is the been down on my luck when I fall all I gotta get up, gotta get back up and ball all like the way he just like he just so freely just changes that up and just goes with it was just so cool. But I don't I liked it. It was a 4 and 5 to me. I was just left with okay, like dope, impressive, talented to
Yeah,
me.
I'm 100% with you in that. I'm not 100% sure what I'm not getting here. Like, I feel like I'm missing the point or something. Or maybe it's like a younger version of it. So he's just kind of describing a lot of similar harsh circumstances of his growing up. You get the sense that like shit's hard. First and the 15th, the only religion. That's when them fucking welfare checks in the states. I don't remember what they called. Come through is what I'm taking from that. Like, you know, just this harsh environment shit. You know, catch a buddy. I'll put that on anybody but my mama. She's showing a pattern for certain. I think it's white panties and minimal condoms. It's like this like social commentary on like the hood in a sense. And then all of a sudden like he's rich and he's going through his own version of having the vapidness and being okay, but also dealing with the complications of walking cautious and being perceived by everybody and then having to deal with people. So it's almost like, hey, look, Baby Keem kind of rose up and is going through his own version of everything that Kendrick's doing on the project, but at the end of the day, he's kind of rich. So, I mean, I guess it's cool. So, I don't know. Like, that's the best I have on this because it's like, I don't get it 1,000%. Um, but like maybe it has to do with the intro. I didn't even think about that. If you derive your sense of identity from being a victim, let's say bad things were done when you were a child, and you develop a sense of self that is based on the bad things that happened to you. So it's kind of like maybe you have to like learn how to look past the being a product of your environment, and that you
Mm.
know by elevating beyond that you're good. I'm not 1,000% sure. Like I said, I gave it like a 4.2. I found it like a bit harder to get into, but it serves its purpose, I guess, as an intro to the next track, which is Savior. All right, Chris. I think I
Yeah,
figured it out. Because I believe now we're getting introduced to the character of Mr. Moral, right? So, Mr. High Stepper or whatever the other version is. Fuck my life.
big
Big
steppers.
Stepper. That's like, you know, the people showboating and shit. But then you got Mr.
Okay.
Moral, who's the judger motherfucker, right? So if you think about it, right, on the Savior interlude, something that just clicked while I was listening to this song, it's like he goes through his life and he gets to where he is. He even talks about shit like cheating, but at the end of the day, he's like, check it, I got my 20 million. Go fuck out of here, mama. We okay. It's almost like he doesn't care what you think. And then I think one of the themes of this album, right? So we look at all the insecurities and shit that got built up on the first half that also interpolates with the relationship with the public and everything else in his personal life. Now we get to this point where it starts off Kendrick made you think about it, but he is not your savior. Cole made you feel empowered, etc. We don't have to go through all of them. All these
Mhm.
people impacted your life and inspired you, but they are not your savior. And I think that's what people be like trying to wildly do with certain celebrity figures is make them a savior and then holding them to this ethical standard of holiness that is beyond human. So you have Kendrick in that first verse, he's like, you know, Mr. Moral, give me high five, 2-time center co-defendant, judge of my life, you know, backpedaler, what they say, etc.
Right.
So this is like
Right.
just the world and how they treat him. And then he kind of cuts a little bit. Fun fact, I ain't taking shit back. Like when they say, like when they pro black, but I'm more Kodak black. So it's like, I think commenting in particular about people who like claim to be pro-black, or probably a lot of the white people too, who like have these opinions online about him, but don't understand that in his mentality, he be more like a Kodak Black figure who they be judging. And then,
Or doesn't it tie in the next line? Tell me where the money
exactly,
at A. Where okay.
universal code, I can members only that. So it's like, this is what I'm really about, regardless to what you think I'm about. And then,
Mm-hmm.
I think like there is something to the whiteness and the black parts of it, right? Like, hello crackers, like let me hear that black back. So it's like, just kind of like calling out people directly. I've seen people arguing about who's blacker, even blacked out screens and called it solidarity. So it's like the vapid nature of arguing about this metric that's created based on what, whose media, this and that. So it's like Mr. Moral is this other character on the album that needed to get explored at some point. Then you get this
Mm.
next verse, or the chorus is cool too. Like, are you happy for me, right? Like, at the end of the day, fuck what you think about me. Are you happy for me? And that it's
Right.
just an open-ended question. People will smile in your face, blah blah blah, but they're not happy for you. They judge you, etc. Then that whole second verse is really just about how rappers and shit be holding themselves back and whatnot, and the state of the world and shit. But even with like the Vladimir Putin line, I think he's trying to tie it into your feelings are based on this collective consciousness of shit. It's not really based on what you think. So it's like people make up decisions for you. It's just a weird sense of like nobody's thinking for themselves no more. And then you got that like third verse where he's just like, you know what, get the fuck out of here. I'm not your savior. I'm not actually loving my neighbor any better than you. I struggle with everything too. I fucking find it like heinous that capitalists and fake people be leveraging these social platforms and all this other shit. And it's like being manipulative, such a required taste. Oof. That's an interesting line. Like, it's not an acquired taste, it's a required taste. Like, the only way to be in this system and actually have a thing is to be a manipulative person. He rubbed elbows with people that was for the people, and they're all greedy. And so then he addresses why he's not fucking been talking about this, because at the end of the day, he's protecting his soul in the valley of silence. He's just not interested in compromising himself to be part of this fake ass conversation, and he doesn't care what you think about it. And I'm like, yo, that's pretty hard. It's like, ultimately, all of it's addressing the concept of what your role is as a savior while you're out there doing your shit in the way society and celebrity treats you. It's pretty hard.
I really just took it as like we glorify a lot of these people in celebrity, fame, richness, and eliteness. And instead of doing that, we should just focus on ourselves. Like that's really what I was left with at the end of this was like you got to be your own savior to overcome whatever problems you have and whatever issues you go with. Um yeah, like I don't have anything else. A lot of this was like a lot. So I put this at a I put this at a 4.2 because I do like the beat. And I do like how where is it? In the bridge, the beat has this like chimey feel to it. When Kendrick's like truth, it resides in the fire that needs of desire, deceiving the lies, whatever. There's like this chime to it that kind of really like nicely breaks up the song, but also kind of brings it back together when he gets more serious, like exposing that he's not the savior and shit. But yeah, I gave it like a 4.2. You touched on everything.
Yeah, I also really like it when he's like, CC, wait a minute, Venaki, c'est la vie. Oof, the way the beat switches up there and everything is fucking amazing sounding. Like, this song has like a swag to it. It's overall like a gain, one of those versatile tracks. I like it a lot. It's another 4.5. It's a really good song. I don't know what else to say about it. I already talked a bunch about it, but I think it's cool how it fits into it. And then once you've got all that, we move into another interesting one, Auntie Diaries. All right, Chris, how do you
I
feel about this one?
um uh,
Um,
I don't know, man. Like I guess I get it. I guess I don't. I think I understand the surf. I don't, dude. Like my auntie is a man now. To me, that's like touching upon like
Oh,
transitioning.
it's quite literally
So
that, yes.
right. So like I get it. And then like the various explanations and experiences why. But I'm like I people for me it's like yo do what you want, live your life, and I'm just not affected by it. So I don't really like kind of walk away
I
from this as
mean,
like any I don't know, like it's just really I may not get it, dude. Honestly, like I didn't really feel anything with this. I was like, okay, you're telling me this, you're going through the experiences, how things can change. There was like a moment where I felt like maybe it doesn't matter if your cousin, like, or if the person that you love as like family is like, you know, guy, girl, whatever. It's about who they are as a person. I caught that. But like overall, I'm just like, I'm still stumped. Like, I'm still just like, what? I don't know. So
that's a
it's
lot
a
of.
4 on 5. Like, I'm just, yeah, dude.
So, like, when I
Yeah.
first listened to the album, this was the second song I was like, oh, say word, this one's gonna fucking, like, this song, this is a hard song. Like, I mean, like, there's a lot of hate towards trans people on Earth, and especially in hip hop, and in certain communities more than others. But ultimately, there's a lot of ignorance and hate towards the trans community. Okay, like that's just kind of what it is. There's a lot of ignorance. Like I don't know. I came across ContraPoints on YouTube and went down trans YouTube land for a while and started learning a lot about a bunch of different shits. But like, you can just look at the conversation on Facebook and the memes, and you don't have to fucking try hard to see how much ignorance gets shared by people on a regular basis, right? So I believe this song is meant to contextualize certain things, and from the
Mhm.
perspective of Kendrick, who in this case apparently when he grew up, his auntie is a trans man who like transitioned, and to him it was just like normal. It's like he didn't get it. She was just doing this. He was bagging girls, doing his shit. But then like he kind of touches on it, like, yo, why did my other uncles hate him? It's so confusing to me. And he's like, well, more money, more women, people be jealous, etc. Doesn't really touch on the actual core of the issue. It's kind of like alluded, and I think what Kendrick's trying to express there is that you can tell as a kid things are off, but nobody's explaining what's happening here, so you're just kind of left with it, which is when you get into that second verse where that F bomb, which we're not going to say it, gets dropped a whole
Right.
bunch. But you know what? Like, because I'm the same age as Kendrick, or at least we're born in the same year. So, like, wildly, that is what elementary school was like. You would drop that word, you didn't know no better. Like, you didn't really know what that shit meant. It was super, like, top level. Nobody explained it. Like, that South Park episode where they have the "Getting Gay with Kids" song and shit was really apt for like the way that whole concept was being treated with kids, especially when you have religious lobbying groups making sure you don't know a fucking thing about anything LGBTQ plus inside of the education system, etc. And again, he's just not understanding it, so they're engaging in this kind of humor. Then he goes in with his aunt, who's now a man, and they be bumping off with DJ Quick and riding around, and he's just so excited. He's seen him rapping, and it's like it doesn't really click, that this is something weird or abnormal, until all of a sudden his cousin followed in it, and now Demetrius is Marianne. So now his cousin has become a trans woman, and he goes through that whole first next verse describing how like it goes to the point of going through the surgeries and everything to like he's really going through the transition, but simultaneously, because of the jokes and the way Kendrick kind of is acting with regards to using that word and showing that kind of homophobic behavior, it kind of creates this rift between the two of them, which then leads to that moment in church where the preacher is judging them as abominations, because high key, that's what preacher men be doing. They fucking judge anything that be like gay or something like that in a really direct way. So he sees the preacher man single out his cousin in church, to which then all of a sudden Kendrick flips and the whole beat changes, and you get that super noble Kendrick's the superhero voice kick in as he questions the intentions of the preacher by quoting the Bible at him, etc. And then his cousin kind of sees that Kendrick is starting to understand the hatred that surrounds this world, and then brings it back to close the point home with him on how that moment happened on stage where that white girl dropped the M-bomb while spitting Mad City, and pointing it out that if you want to be able to say this word with me, you have to be comfortable with that girl saying that word in that moment. And if you're not, then you now understand why you can't be using this kind of language. And so I think it's just a way to contextualize all of that for people, because a lot of people don't have that context. Like, you live in a country where you can have sex education, Chris. Like, you got to understand that the whole world is not taught the same shit equal. And even then, do they still have sex ed? I don't fucking know. But I think it's really just Kendrick trying to contextualize the struggle of trans people and equate it to other experiences that you can relate to, and showing the ignorance that people have in not understanding it because there's no sincere or genuine conversation about it. And that's what I think the purpose of all this song is. Plus the way the beat kind of just like slowly builds as he delivers it all. Like, this is a really fucking cool song. I give it a 5 on 5. It's fucking stellar. Chris is like, yep, nope, I'm not with it. Yo, there's already tweets here where people are debating this shit. Anyway.
Like, again, I acknowledge what the song is, and after listening to it, I understand what the song is trying to do. I just, in my brain, it's like, I don't care what people do. Like, as long as there's no violence or anybody gets hurt.
There is violence, like, and people are getting hurt on this subject.
Which I understand. It's like, I understand that. And that's why I'm just left with this, like, I get it. Like, I get it. It's kind of what it is. It's like, you told me all of this, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, yeah, I get it, Kendrick. Like, I know it sucks. Like, fuck. I don't know, dude. I don't know.
That's fair. Anyway, let's move on to Mr. Moral. Yo, before we go anywhere, shout out Pharrell on this beat, but holy shit, this reminds me of Kanye West Yeezus era. Like, just so much like the Yeezus era of Kanye. I digress, Chris. How do you feel about this one?
To me, this is a vibe. Like, I've honestly, at this point, I'm like so off the lyrics, and I'm just like, my brain is just like, okay. But I like how he interpolates this like breathing and like heaving in the beginning with the yeah, and he's like kind of like breaking out, and he's trying to like contain something, but it's exploding. So I thought that was really, really cool. The way he just flows into the first verse, and it's like, Echo, your father's just detox. I'm calling is right on time. Transform, like, just the way he kind of spits and it's sporadic was just so cool. I mean, given the chorus, I guess he's got shit on his mind and it's heavy and he's just dealing with it. So like, I get that point, like that part. Sam Do, I just love. It doesn't matter what the fuck he does or her or whatever. I love it. It just the way the voice, and just the way the voice infuses with the beat. I just, oh my God, I'm just like, this is really, really great. I mean, this stepping out when the weight lifts, I guess that's like being able to take the weight off your shoulders, and now you're floating, or you're floating on top of the problems. I don't know. This whole thing was just a real vibe to me. Like, it just had a nice bounce, a nice feel to it. So that was really it. I like the outro where it's kind of like telling you to get back up and do what you got to do, and like get your squad, get your team. And it's got that like football-esque huddle thing going. So it was nice. It was cool. Like, it was a 4.2 for me on 5.
Yeah, I thought this song was pretty fire. So I feel like if we look through the transition of this evolution of Kendrick kind of coming into himself, right? This one just kind of feels like he's really decided his purpose in a sense. He's trying to heal now. He's trying to, with his community, deal with the demons inside, acknowledge the various traumas that have existed, and like fucking move forward. Now the song's called Mr. Moral, So I think that's part of it. Like Mr. Moral, as we understand, is that judging side of maybe social media and the perception and stuff. And if we look in that second verse, right, he really just kind of explores shit like the pain and trauma of society that creates more pain and trauma, right? So R. Kelly and Oprah both having molestation and shit happen in their life that created trauma that caused, in at least R. Kelly's case, more hate and more failure around him and bad circles. And then Oprah had to suffer as well. And then his mother was abused, and then kind of pointing out the systemic cycles of abuse that occur in black communities. And then literally with that question, what you know about black trauma. So when everybody's saying everybody about everything, it's like, what do you really know about it? He's just out there with his people trying to work with them and get over this, and then watch his people make money and develop wealth. And then I loved when he's like, watching my cousin struggle with addiction, then watching her firstborn make $1 million, and both of them off the grid for forgiveness. I'm sacrificing myself to start the healing end. And there's like this sense where it's like everybody just wants to or heal, escape, and avoid the cycle that people have been stuck in for the longest time. And it's like, who keep them honest like us? Who in alignment like us? Who got to heal them all? Us? Like, there's this question of who's actually going to deal with the responsibility. Is it him? Is it his people? It's like, what does it really mean? He in his position and shit. But overall, there's this cry I find to just kind of overcome other people's opinions about this situation and just focus on moving forward, celebrating and pushing towards those goals. So it's like, it feels like there's this almost like aggression towards the ops, but the ops being Mr. Moral and the judgy folks, and really just this focus on fuck what you think. Like, it's like it was around here where I'm like, yo, Kendrick don't give a shit what I think about him. And I think he's bringing up an example like R. Kelly on purpose, because it's so easy to judge him without looking at all the circumstances around how he's almost a victim of a circumstance. Now, I'm not defending his behaviors, but if you do look at his circumstances with nuance, there's a lot of people who failed him to put him in that position where he continued to hurt people. I just think it's a really, really interesting song. The vibe is really great and shit. The features complement it so perfectly. Overall, I just enjoyed it a lot. I think it's a 4.75, and I think it really carries the project forward. And again, giving a sense of identity to where Kendrick's going with it. Like, he set you up. He's let you know that he's going to not care what you think and focus on himself, and he can't make people happy. And now we're starting to get to what Mr. Moral means to him, in a sense, I guess, what he really represents with the situation as we move into the last couple of tracks on the album. So I think it's really cool. The next one is Mother I Sober. All right, Chris, how do you feel about this one? Chris is like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't understand it. I'm done. I checked out. I'm over.
Yo, you start this. Okay.
It is a great outro. Shout out Ismail for popping through. Okay. This song's pretty brilliant, too, because keep in mind, like, the last song, the fuck you know about, like, black trauma. Well, let's learn about black trauma, Chris. And that's what's happening here. It's like this next layer of shit that gets added on. I'm sensitive. I feel everything. I feel everybody. And then he just kind of goes on to start describing shit, you know? Transformation, then reciprocation, karma must return. This is like this more spiritual, like, sense of what is supposed to be coming, like how we actually deal with this shit. The ego's gotta die, we gotta move forward. But then it's like, my mother cried, they put their hands on her, it was family ties, I heard it all. And then he's describing like how his mother got beat or hurt or abused in some way, and he was 5, and he's considering how he should have fucking grabbed a gun and dealt with the situation, but like, he's a Christian, and how is he supposed to handle this? And you know, it's like 5 years old trying to deal with this situation. And then he's kind of like leaving that verse with transformation. You ain't felt grief till you felt it sober, which is a whole other point to it, where so many people hide from their grief and shit because they're not sober. But he's like, when you feel that sober, you really feel it. You really learn that shit. And then that chorus comes through with this longing to be like somebody else, which I think is just something that almost everybody out there can feel at some point or another, right? And then just to go further into black trauma, he talks about how when he was young, his cousin got accused of molesting him and his mother, and everybody challenged that, and nobody like believed him, even though it wasn't true and it never happened. Because this is like one of the things that doesn't get talked about. Like, there's some crazy stat where like a large percentage of black dudes get molested, like a large number, and it never gets talked about, and like a bunch of shit like that. So I believe Kendrick is here using his experiences to kind of introduce this subject matter in. Like, this is some shit nobody be talking about. And then the complications of, like, the family dealing with this. And, you know, mother's brother said he got revenge for my mother's face, right? That's, like, another side of it. So somebody else maybe killed or hurt somebody that beat his mother at one point. And it's all this trauma and lie shit, right? But then he's just blaming himself because you just feel guilt because nobody believes you or whatever else, and there's like again more trauma that gets attached to these experiences and stuff.
Well, just on that, because that was one thing I wanted to say. It was like the way that he expresses how like he's genuinely just being honest with the no, like no, I'm safe and everything, but you can really like get like the other people. That's where I kind of started seeing some foreshadowing where I was like, okay, there's other people who are like, he's not fully telling the story. But I like how there's that sense of like convincing that needs to be done in certain aspects. I may not be explaining it properly. Go on.
And then you get to the third verse where he's like, look, I didn't use drugs to cope, but I'd be lying to pretend like I don't have my vices, and then proceeded to touch back on the fact that infidelity is a part of his thing, and he's basically got this like sex addiction that he goes through. And then, you know, she finally recommends therapy. So as it's like he's going through therapy, he starts to like rehash all of these memories and all of these things that he's gone through, all of this trauma, right? Because think about it, he goes to therapy, and this whole album is him just kind of rehashing the trauma of his childhood to try to like touch on certain things that probably a whole bunch of people deal with. And then to this day, he's like, my mom still doesn't believe me because she went through her own shit, and because she went through her own version of it, it doesn't matter. It's just she's convinced this happened. And it's like these cycles kind of get created and nobody really ever touches about it. Or another part of it when he's like, conversation not being addressed in black families, the devastation haunting generations in humanity. They raped our mothers, then they raped our sisters, and they made us watch, then they made us rape each other. And this would probably be going back to like, you know, slave plantation times. And yo, that shit's way more recent than people think. Like way more, like we're saying this shit is probably going on in the 1900s, right? So this is like people have living relatives that went through this shit. And like, at one point, I was curious why there's so much homophobia in hip-hop, and from what I was brought to my attention, and I'm no expert on the subjects, but in a way to demasculinize dudes, they would, like, force men to rape other men, like the slave owners and shit, and all this kind of stuff that created these deep traumatic anxieties in people that gets attached to shit like slavery and whatnot, that really just, you never really hear about it. And then you just, right after that, like every other rapper been sexually abused. I see him daily burying they paint in chains and tattoos. So listen close for you start to pass judgment on how we move, learn how we cope. Whenever his uncle had to walk with him from school, his anger grows deep in misogyny. So it's like you may be like seeing a version of people, but you don't know what they went through and how many people, like I have a theory where like most people in music be like on some spectrum and actually going through some trauma shit. Cause like, being a musician or an artist professionally or trying to do that as an adult is like a seriously masochistic endeavor. And like most people I know are wildly not neurotypical, and everybody seemed to have gone through something. Everybody seems to be dealing with shit. So it's like, if you can't fully understand the trauma of these situations, how can you judge these people, Mr. Moral? Bringing back that kind of thing. But then he kind of goes and moves it towards like that vision of freedom and like healing and shit, where he sets free everybody. But really what I love was that last line, as I set free all you abusers, this is transformation. And why that line hits so big is because something I always thought about in the way our judicial system of judgment and condemnation and cancel culture and social justice is like laid out. It's almost like if you ever committed a crime, you're guilty for life. It's over. But that's like not really conducive to like growing and shit. If there's no compassion and there's no path for reformation, and if there's like no way to repent for your sins, then like you're just condemning the world to being like dark. So it's like, in a sense, if we want to see the world hit this next level of transformation, we actually have to learn how to forgive our abusers and the people who hurt us and like the worst of it. So instead of having guys like Philip DeFranco bragging about fucking castrating people and making it cool to spread hate in the world in his like, you know, jokey kind of way, it's like, is that really the path forward? Do you even know what, you know, like there's so many things that like the ignorance of Mr. Moral. Actually, Philip DeFranco is a good example of Mr. Moral.
I'm like dying inside a little bit because
Or at least current Philip DeFranco is. So it's
Right.
like, you know, you never hear the compassion. You just kind of hear when he's decided away. It's you know, so it's like, that's the hard part, is to learn how to love the hate and to offer that love to the hate so that you can, in fact, see the transformation. Anyway, and then I like the fact with like how his kid is gonna break the generational curse because like they're not gonna grow up with that shit. It's really cool. And then Sam Dew crushes it with that outro. Before I go and fast asleep, love me for me. I bare my soul and now are free. And it's like, again, like being yourself and including the darkness and having a society that's built on forgiveness and understanding and compassion for the traumas that we all experience and shit. I think it's pretty fucking powerful. It's one of my favorite tracks on this album too. I give it a 5 on 5.
I gave it a 4.5 because I understand how powerful it is. Like when I listen to this song and I keep just going through it, and I still need to go back. Like that's a part of me is still like, yeah, I don't have much to say because I don't fully understand, and I don't want to like misquote certain shit or whatnot. But like I did leave this sense, especially with like the last line with that transformation. Like there is this like breaking through barriers feel that like even I kind of got, just the way the song made me feel with it, like the way he really tried to like get people to understand. I thought it was really great. Eventually I'll come back and let y'all know somewhere.
I feel like that eventually is like not actually gonna happen. And that's just me holding up a mirror to you. Yo, we at the last song, Chris. For those that are not on the stream with us, we are hitting the 4-hour mark of the stream now. So, yeah. Next time, y'all can hit it up Sundays, 12 p.m. EST, twitch.tv/behind that suit. All right, Chris, how do you feel about this outro? Last song. It's not really an outro. I guess it's an outro.
I like how after this whole journey of like finding himself and dealing with all his shit and stuff, he finally chooses himself. He's finally gonna like let go of it all.
Shit, Kodak's on this song too. He says
and
I
build
choose
himself.
Me. I didn't even realize.
Oh shit, really? Cool. Oh, yeah, the intro. But what stood out to me is that like he's still like, I'm sorry. Like there's still this part of him that is like apologetic to everybody, that he has to go and choose himself. Where as much as the chorus has this like anthemic, like I'm choosing me, we're doing this, like this is what it is, we've unlocked it, he's still apologetic about it. He's still like
that just feels like a Canadian I'm sorry. It doesn't feel like a real I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. Besides that, I honestly am like, I like the vibe, I like the beat, I like everything. I'm just tired at this point. I was just tired, and I was like, I'm kind of glad it's over. But no, anyway, but like, it's good. It ended up at a 4.2 on 5. Yeah. It's just, it's good.
Like, I'm too tired to keep doing this review. Can we please finish? Well, Chris, we still have to talk about this. Anyway, like, we're not skipping it, Chris. No. I choose the review. I'm sorry. And I think, this track is like such a perfect conclusion, though, right? Because remember what I said a bit earlier. The whole first part of the project is like diagnosing the pain. Right, and understanding the self-awareness and why people are the big steppers, and then the other side is about the love and the relationship of what love really is and how Mr. Moral kind of fits into that shit. But you really feel like every track on the second part of this is about love. And then this is where he kind of figures out that it's self-love that is really what's the most important thing. And as he's reflecting shit, it's like, yo, instead of the pressure and shit, like, you're all waiting on me to, like, do whatever. It's like, it's not about right, wrong, whatever. It's not really going down like that. I just realized now it's not really my fight, in a sense, is what I'm feeling from him. I can't live in this matrix of social media wars and what everybody's pushing. It's just, I choose me. I have to deal with my own shit. And you see it in like the verse, where it's like everybody like wakes up to the news and the traumas of everything, and it almost feels like he's like, nah, that's not how it's gonna be. It's different. And then you won't grow waiting on me. As in, if you're waiting for Kendrick to come be your savior, to come drop this source of knowledge and wisdom, and that's what you're waiting on, it's like, nah, B, it's not gonna happen like that, because I choose me. I'm sorry, like, I can't be that anymore. I'm not trying to be that. We can't have that be the way our society is driven, because all of it's toxic, you know. And that like last verse really just kind of shows he's like working on his own problems and his own shit, and then people just kind of maybe don't fully understand what he's dealing with. Like, do yourself a favor and get a mirror, that mirror grievance, then point it at me so the reflection can mirror freedom. She told me that she need me the most. I didn't believe her. She even called me names on the post. The world can see it. And this is where it's like, I feel like the relationship with the public and the way people treat him and that parasocial shit is just kind of weird, because it's not authentic and it's not real. And it's like, if Kendrick doesn't give you the opinion you're supposed to give, it's problematic and shit. And so at the end of the day, it's like, fuck that. I'm running away from the culture to follow my heart. In a sense, I feel like it's like a lot of what J. Cole articulates, but just like put into a way that's like, I'm doing it to save my soul. And I think it's really interesting. And I like how the bridge before the outro just kind of solidifies what love is to him. True love's not saving face. It's an unconditional thing. It's not about the appearances. It's about the embodiment of like everything. He's like, I hope you'll find your independence and shit. And then I think the greatest line on the album is, sorry I didn't save the world, my friend. I was too busy building mine again. And it's like, because people are expecting him. I don't know if y'all saw those tweets and shit, but like people were wildly like, after, especially after like the George Floyd situation, Kendrick's gonna save the world. Like, and he's like, nah, I choose me. I'm sorry. Like, it's kind of like how it ended up playing out. And I think you get to this as the end, as he just resonates on that chorus again, and you're left with Kendrick just explaining what his position to the world is. I'm not your savior. I'm going to deal with my own shit. You have to deal with your own shit. And then the album's done, and it's just kind of nice, and the beat's so like triumphant, and like it feels so affirmation filled, and it feels like there's like a sense of conclusiveness to it all. And I really like this song, so I'm giving it a 4.75 because it's pretty strong. Alright, I think we did it, Chris. We got to the end of Mr. Moral and the Big Steppers. So what do you think about this project as a whole? Is this album of the year? Is this the classic of classics that's going to save the world, Chris?
Bro, my opinion means nothing. Okay? My opinion on if this is the album of the year or whatever means absolutely nothing.
Is it your album of the year?
No.
Then it means something to the people watching the review where you're talking on. We're not telling.
Fair. Overall, I like the project as, I guess what I would also say is like the art piece that it is, for the messaging and the stories and the things that I can, you know, take away from and learn from. And I definitely do want to go back and really like kind of sit with some of these songs and really gather a lot of the shit I'm supposed to get from it. But like this is a 4.2 on 5 over 5 as a full project.
Chris
to me,
is like, this is a slightly above average project. Give me some Denzel Curry, please.
Like, just even with that, it's just because I acknowledge that I like the Denzel Curry beats and the and all that stuff more, which doesn't really equivalent to anything. So I don't know, man. It's just a 4.2. If you're either really gonna like this or you're not. I like some songs on this. And there's just some songs that because I don't, you know what it is? I don't not like any of the songs. I'm just not going to go back to a lot of these, but I will go back to N95 and whatever other one I fucking hearted on my thing.
So
So,
Chris's feelings are, this album is too much effort for me to give a fuck about moving forward. Understood. And I word it like that because half your homeboys feel that way, person who loves this album. I appreciate you, but you gotta recognize Chris be the voice of the people sometimes, even if they're not the people that you're part of the peoples of. Um, I think this
hey,
album,
I have the voice.
I don't know if this is like okay, like this is one of those like interesting art piece albums. So to call it a classic, it's like I guess it's super hard for me to like inherently call this a classic right now, because if I think about Damn, I don't know. I never listened to Damn. I think it's a cool album, but I never listened to it. So for me, it's not a classic. It's like a good album, but I'm cool with it. It's no Good Kid, Mad City to me. Whether you agree with me or not, it's cool. So it's hard for me to go down that path with it. Do I think it's album of the year? If we're gonna go down the path of concepts, possibly it's a real contender. I don't know what other
Mm.
albums are gonna come as deep with this self-actualization journey of exploring what love is and touching on generational trauma and a bunch of other things as effectively as Kendrick did, while making Kodak Black look like fucking the illest and all this. Not that he needed help, but like all this other shit. Like it's a really cool project. Um, but then if we're talking about listenability, I don't know. I think other albums are gonna get listened to more than this one because this project's purpose is more conceptual thought piece stuff rather than like trying to make bops. It's a journey. It's almost like you like Kendrick makes shit you gotta listen to in full. All that being said, I believe this project is absolutely stellar. It's like a good 4.5, and I would say it's a good modern classic. I don't know if I'm gonna call it like super classic because classics got tiers and shit, but like this album is one that people are absolutely going to go back to, and I don't think it's going to just not be relevant for a long time. It's really well made. This, I feel like sonically this is going to outlast Damn. So like it's a pretty cool
Mm.
project, and it does a lot here, and there's a lot of sounds for multiple kinds of people to pick a 1-2 single that they're going to bump on, and I really like it. I like it a lot. So that's what I got to think about all of the stuff related to this project. Thank you so much, everybody out there who is watched our review on Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Moral and the Big Stepper. However long the final video edited out ends up being. Appreciate you if you stuck it through this far with us. You a real MVP, achievement unlocked in your life. Shout out to people who watched it live with us. Y'all are absolutely wonderful as well. You can totally come watch it live with us Sundays 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/behind that suit. And yeah, otherwise, if you're on the YouTube later on, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, tell us what you thought, all that good stuff. If you want to see us review particular albums of your choosing, feel free to hit us up at patreon.com/behind that suit. And yeah, on that note, everybody, it's been a super wonderful time, and live long and prosper and all of that good shit.
Bye.